1.
Right on time.
You are now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
Excellent. Thank you, TCTV. Good evening. This time is now 6:30 p.m. I'm Chairman Mike Curry, and I'd like to call the Select Board Business Meeting to order on this 27th day of March 2024. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. You could.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Julie. Before we begin, I'd like to state for the record that we are not only being streamed live on TCTV Cable Station 8 and our YouTube web platform, but this evening's recording will be available for later viewing on our YouTube channel. We and TCTV would be happy if you subscribe. And if there are any other audience members who are or plan to record video this evening, please let us know. We have got a full quorum this evening. Thank you, everyone. As always, our agenda for this evening is publicly available at the official source for town information, templetonma.gov. There you may sign up for alerts for all public meetings, as well as our town administrator's weekly report. I would also encourage those listening who have not signed up for Code Red alerts to do so via our website. It's right on the homepage, or by calling 866-939-0911. As this is the primary method for engaging with the public for important information. Although I have the discretion as chairperson to add and remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. I reserve the right to move agenda items around to best fit our business and guests. Okay, we've got about 7 items on our agenda this evening. It's about half of what we had last time. The estimated meeting time. I'm going to go for an hour, Julie. Let's do an
Okay,
hour.
thank you, Mike.
I'm going to set it.
You hopefully didn't just jinx
Absolutely.
us on that.
If you say it, it will happen. If this
Build
is
it
your
and
fir-
they will come.
if this is your first select board meeting, we're glad that you joined us. We are proud to serve the community and will address tonight's business with patience, fairness, and efficiency. We would ask the same for our guests. Let's have a great meeting. And I do have some that are joining via Zoom. Couple just quick Zoom rules of the road. Use video when possible, but only when it's your time on the agenda item. Otherwise, just leave it off. Leave your speakers on so you can hear what's going on, and please stay on mute until you need to speak. And if you do need to speak, you can use the raise hand function. Usually people are looking for that, or just politely cut it. And if you need to see material shared in the screen, which may be needed this evening, you can request that of the share. TCTV will help me out in doing so. And hopefully my computer helps me out too. All right. All right. Diving into our agenda, we are at the approval of meeting minutes. We've got 2 sections, the approval of minutes of prior meetings for our regular business, and we also have executive session minutes. We can jump into those. You've got the regular meeting minutes in your packet, and then all others we can talk to when we get through any action.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
move to approve the minutes of March 13th, 2024 as presented.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Thank you, Liz. Any discussion on the meeting minutes of March 13th?
I'm not going to make an amendment for this, but I would just ask the select board's office to make sure that they do it for just technical stuff, spelling,
Okay.
grammatic. I know my name is misspelled on there once. Just check that stuff before you. Just check that stuff before it's posted. I don't think there's a need for an amendment for that. That's
Okay.
clerical.
Okay.
But
Great, thank you for that. Now, any other observation?
Yeah,
Yep, go ahead,
Mr.
Jim.
Chair, just a general comment that I've addressed this before. Some of the content is a little light. There's a lot of areas under citizen input where it's not complete or accurate. But I'm also going to draw attention to old business item 2B, the action regarding the Gray Road truck turnaround. The roll call vote, we're showing 5 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain. although Mr. Rivard recused himself, so that vote should be a 4-0-0.
All right, so for that, I will make an amendment to amend the minutes. To amend the minutes to include a correction under roll call vote. This is old business. Item B, the roll call vote should read 4 yes, 0 no, 0 abstaining. As I did recuse
Yeah,
myself.
it can just be
Yeah,
as
I'll
amended.
make that amendment.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you for that, Tim.
Yep.
Any other observations or changes? Okay, hearing no more on the motion to approve the meeting minutes as amended for March 13th, 2024. How would you vote, Tim,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Matt,
I abstain.
Julie?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, item 3B, executive session minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve the executive session minutes from the following dates: June 18th, 2023, August 9th, 2023, September 27th, 2023, October 11th, 2023, October 25th, 2023, November 8th, 2023, and January 24th, 2024.
I have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I think his first date should be 6/28/23.
I said June 28th, 2023.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I thought you
Thought I
said
did.
8.
Oh, I apologize.
18 or
Should be
8.
June 28th. I apologize.
Thank you.
I got you covered. I have a
Second.
motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Matt, could I ask that you amend your motion to say, I move to approve and release to the public executive session minutes?
The release to the public, is that immediately released to the public or
Yes.
I so amend?
Do I have a second on the amendment?
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion to approve and release to the public executive session minutes? Matt went through the list. Yeah. Positive vibes.
Yeah.
Right. I did not hear any other observations on that. On the motion
That's okay.
to approve the executive session minutes for June 28th, 23. Do you want me to run through the list? For the dates previously mentioned
There you
and to
go.
release immediately to the public? How do you vote, Tim?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you very much. We are up to citizen input. And this is, I'd like to keep it to citizen input today. Next meeting, I'd like to discuss, if we could get that on there, discuss how we would handle, how the board would like to handle announcements, whether it's a change to the policy or we can figure out how to maybe finagle your section. I don't know, but I'd like to talk about that. So citizen input. Besides Mrs. Toth, are there any other citizen inputs for this evening? Hi, Liz.
Hello. Liz Toast, Gray Road,
Thank you.
Templeton. Hi.
Hello.
Sorry, but the approval of the minutes from March 13th. I sent an email on March 21st indicating that the draft minutes were incorrect. And it went to Mr. Lamontagne and the entire board. So that I had read from the open meeting law guidelines, basically highlighting that the select board was not in compliance with the OML. And that's not referenced in the meeting minutes,
Meeting minutes for what date?
March 13th, that you just approved.
Okay. We just approved them.
Yeah, you just approved them. They're incorrect. And I had notified,
You didn't want to speak up during the.
no, it wasn't appropriate for me to,
Who asked?
sorry, I tried.
Meeting,
Yeah.
I mean, you generally.
Yeah,
I mean, as I've been chair, I minus 1 year that Tim was, you normally for things that we have any discussion, by a rule of thumb, I usually, unless it needs to be otherwise, but anyway.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
so,
all right, sorry.
313, review for OML.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right. So, because I had sent in the note, the email, everybody was copied on it, so.
you would like a response back, or do you intend to file a OML complaint?
I would be happy if you guys just agreed to correct them as opposed to an OML
Okay.
complaint. I'm perfectly fine with that. As long as that's what you go do the next time, I'm fine.
Okay.
All right.
I,
I
I-
don't think we need to go through the formal whatever, as long as
Okay.
it shows up on the next one. The other thing is, I've got a general concern that, has been brought to this board by other people previously, is that the website is not updated. Very good for updating the volunteer list that was updated, I think, on the 24th, which is awesome. But we're missing things like a lot of the contracts, going through, looking at the budget. The IT contract is missing, the fire contracts are missing, the contract for the website support is missing, just to mention, some of them, right? Presentations are missing, like the wage and compensation. And it's not just a single mistake. There's a pattern here of just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just, there's a lot missing that there needs to be more attention to detail, in my opinion. Okay. And then the other thing is that in the general fund budget that you're going to go through and talk about, there are things that this is an implementation year for, that there's no budget items for. Example is
as related to the select board goals.
yes.
Okay.
And an example is the HR director. It wasn't even on there as just an item, even if it was zero amount, it wasn't even as a reminder.
That's a
And
good
so,
point.
so my point is there seems to be a lack of attention to detail, just generally speaking. I don't know how the board wants to address it. It's just there, and it seems to be ongoing. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Liz. I took all these down. Speed. Okay, got that. Any other citizen input? We only had one citizen input, and we usually allocate a block of time. Are there any announcements? I'm realizing we're reneging on my promise.
But, Mr. Chairman, not really an announcement, just a comment after, Ms. Toth was up. I do have to say, it's so important for us to start looking at how important it is to look into the budgets and look for an HR person for the town of Templeton as we are growing quickly. And there
I
are
think
so
we can
many
get
job
that.
duties
Yep.
in so many areas. HR is really a big thing right now. We need that.
I agree. And from like a written perspective, I think that's what she was referring to. I took
Right.
that down. It was a good note. Thank you. Citizen input?
Yes. Just a quick question. Give them the well.
How did we make out with the school budget?
Can we bring that up to, could you ask that question
In the-
during, yeah, that
Okay.
would be a better place to ask that question, but that's a great
it.
one. Is it more of like a question for the,
Well, it affects what we would.
any other citizen input announcements? All right. Doing well, gang. Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple announcements. First, I want to say I thought the small ceremony we had with the Ritter family went exceptionally well. Both Mr. Ritter's widow was here, as well as one of his daughters, and the other one participated via through the phone to see the dedication, and the chair gave an excellent speech as well. So I believe the family, they were very moved, and I think that's important to highlight the positives for the town. Very important to the positives. The Scal Health sign is up, and also I should have a draft complete of operating procedures for the April 10th meeting. So we're moving forward on the completion of another project for the town of Templeton that's been long overdue. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Okay, we are now into new business. I do not see any introduction of new employees or appointments. Would you concur, Adam?
Right.
Okay. All right, so we've got a couple of items. We're looking for, again, for efficiency here. I know we've got an insurance discussion. Crown Castle, Abigail is on Maple Street debt article. John is here. Thanks for coming, John. How best is the order that we've got these satisfactory for the board, or do you want me to take any of these out of order? I know we've got George is here as well.
Is there anything we can dispense with rather quickly? And
George.
because I would
yeah,
take those items out of order and.
Yeah, yeah, I'd just like to be efficient for guests if we have other stuff to do. George, why don't you come up? You've already popped up.
Those who don't know me, I am the chairman of the Conservation Renewal.
Yep.
I believe I am known by everyone.
Yep. So if you jump to item F, for those following along, there are two documents pertaining to this. One of the documents is for our discussion this evening. The other document is an FYI. It is going to require, that is basically an action for conservation, the Mullen Rule. And it also is a discussion that Adam and I have had in terms of needed bylaw to support that. And we'll take a look at that. But for the purposes of what George is here tonight,
Well,
go for it. You look ready to go.
we only have 3 people on our board, and it's kind of hard to, if I have to step out because of the way it's written, that leaves no way we can do any voting on any statement, any comment. This is why I filled out the Mullen Rule. So I have no financial interest in any of the conservation people or any of the areas that we go in to visit and to decide our things on. We just go directly by what DEP says we have to do.
Okay. And you were in a butter.
And I was also in butter, that's why I had to step out.
Exactly. So that's what brought up the issue. And it does state with your signature on the financial disclosure that's in our packet, that there is no financial impact.
Thank you.
Yep, hang on. Board comments or questions? So we're not dealing with the Mullen Rule tonight, only the financial.
No, but we do have to update that. There's situations that come up where there's not a quorum.
No,
Reviewing.
no,
No.
the Mullen Rule has everything to do with the hearing.
Okay.
Okay. And we have not adopted that into our bylaws, so that is something that Jessica, the conservation agent, is well aware of.
Right.
And Adam is well aware of, and Brian is well aware of. Okay. Are there any board questions? Basically, our job as the board is to agree with that financial disclosure and present the path forward so that they can make a decision with a quorum. We are not impacting on the business before the
Right.
conservation.
Mhm.
We are merely saying that George does not have a substantial financial impact to this, and he can therefore be a part of the quorum. Are there any questions? I know there's one in the audience. I'm not hearing in the board right now. Liz, did you have something? Just make sure you're speaking up.
I was just looking for what the Mullen Rule was.
That's a great question. Under chapter 39, section 23D, there is a provision that the state, it's one of the state provisions that a town can adopt. And it has everything to do with allowing one missing absence from a hearing to not be detriment to make a vote. As long as there is a certification, and I have seen towns have forms or otherwise, but as evidence, hang on, as evidence in the or it was in the pack, it's basically saying I attest that I have reviewed and the recording of it, whether it's minutes or recording or otherwise, to basically make sure that they're caught up with the actual business that was conducted during the hearing.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This town has not adopted that yet, so that will definitely be something that we will tackle. Did you have a question?
Nope, that was my understanding. They're allowed to review what they missed.
Yep, it's just a disclosure.
Yeah, because we're gonna have them back shortly.
Any further questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move to vote the financial interest is not substantial as to be deemed likely to affect the integrity of the Conservation Commission Chair's services to the town.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to vote that the financial interest is not so substantial and that affecting the chair of conservations who may continue. How do you vote, Tim?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes, thanks, George, for your taking this serious.
Matt?
Yes.
Julie?
yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you, George.
Thank you,
Thank you very
George.
much.
Appreciate your
George.
presence.
Huh?
I appreciate your presence.
Oh, I've been here.
Presence and present.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a
John,
nice-
John, would you like to go next?
Sure.
Yeah, again, I think it's, the business at hand is very simple to, understand. If you could just,
Going up front, or are you staying there?
No, you want me to come up there, right?
TCTV, can you hear hear him from his location? Okay, thank you, John.
All right, can you just take one? Yeah. Give them something. Yep.
And thank you to the board for allowing the flexibility to move around.
Just keep going. That's okay. I'll just have to give this handout. Just kind of summarize what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, thank you.
Thank you.
It's really good.
And we'll decide after we.
The ink is still sticking on this. What the heck?
So we got,
And I just wanted, for the recorded record for minutes purposes, a document was handed out by Mr. Driscoll, just so we just need to make sure that we're referencing that in the minutes. Thank you, Mr. Driscoll.
sure. I think we've got about 5 pretty large projects going on right now. We had 6, but that East Templeton roundabout luckily is all set. So we're out of there. So we got a lot going on. So one of the things we have going on is this Maple Street water main replacement project. It involves most of School Street and Maple Street all the way down to, I think where the road splits, goes down to the wells. So it's about 1,700 feet on 202. And then whatever the length, I don't know what the length of School Street, whatever that is. It's a pretty big project. We went to town meeting back in 2022. Get the funds appropriated. It was $2.2 million for 3 different jobs. This was 1.2 million of the 2.2 million. So this was the biggest job on there. Along with those 2 was a culvert on Old Boylston Road leading out to the Maple Street well. The other job was the Main Street Bridge, which has kind of been on hold for a while. But the point of this is 2 or 3 weeks ago, we've been using tie and bond now for probably 11 years on everything large like this because we're a small entity. So they approached us and asked us about the 1.2 million that we got from Hilltop back probably a year ago now. What was left of that? We told them it was 933,000. We used 267,000 to do a big materials procurement bid. It came in a lot less than we thought, which was good by almost 150,000. That was pretty good, but we did spend 267 of it. So in tie and bond, there was 933 left. They kind of shook their head and said, "Hey, they're not sure that's enough to get that job done now." Because 2 years have gone by. They mentioned, inflation, the supply chain, the labor shortage, all the stuff that's going on that I certainly don't understand any of it, why it's going on. I don't see how it relates to the economy right now, but it is a reality. So they said what we should do is go to the town meeting in May and ask for another 400,000. Like I was gonna walk in a Cumberland Farms and get a coffee. I said, we just did this with $2.2 million 2 years ago. Quite frankly, I'm amazed that it went through because, the town meeting, so only 60% of the people have town water, but anybody can go to the meeting. Right. So I always get nervous that if we don't express our ideas well enough, then people are just gonna get confused and thinking that, I don't want to pay for that kind of thing. But
I said, I really don't want to do that. And he said, the problem is now that we're intertwined, and I don't regret that we are. We're intertwined with the town on School Street. School's got their project on, the town has a project on School Street with the CDBG funding. Eventually, it's gonna come to a point, and could be at that point now, where they want to make sure everyone has their funding secured. I'm sure the town is fine. But when they ask us about our job, which is not just School Street, it's all of Maple. Do you have enough funds to do the job? Well, I say yes. Consultant says no. So, what do I know? I'm not the consultant, so I don't design jobs like this. So we are going to try to, that's why we're here tonight. It seems like we maybe missed the deadline for the warrant article. I don't know if that fell in the last 2 or 3 weeks. If it did, I apologize. But we're here to see if there's a possibility to get an article on there. I submitted something to Adam, like a draft of something. It's pretty similar to the 2.2. It's just the one project, one job, one amount of money. So that's what we're going to try to do. As I explained to my board, maybe a week or so ago in an email, that we just finished the culvert project. Well, not just months ago now. We got $445,000 from the state against that job. So, which is good because the job is supposed to cost 500,000, ended up coming in about 635. So we ended up paying, math in my head, probably about 190,000 out of pocket for a job. In my opinion, it should have cost $30,000. So because of where it is, it's on federal land. There's all kinds of creatures living there. There's wetlands, waterways. It's just, I'm amazed you can even take a walk down there without getting a permit first, quite frankly. So it was a nightmare, but it's done. And we did get through the state's MVP program. We had 2 reimbursements totaling 445,000. That to me was good. If I look at the original 2.2 million, of which we slated $500,000 for this culvert job, of that 500,000, we didn't spend much at all. So at least the way I'm looking at it, the money we saved on this, getting that grant, covers, kind of allows us to cover this 400,000 now. My hope is that if I look ahead 2 years from now and all these jobs are done, we look how much it costs, that figure is still pretty close to the 2.2 million. And I know the 400,000 is high. I'm an engineer too. If I would bet that the real number is probably more like 225. But I'm just going by their recommendation at this point. This doesn't involve water rates at all. That's a concern of anyone too. Like, every time we do this, water rates going up. If they did go up for the 2.2 million, I'm sure I'll remember now from 2 years back, they're not going up now, not because of this. This has already been the 2.2 million amount really isn't changing. All the inflation and stuff that drove the other cost of it up. To the extent that it didn't drive the cost up of the culvert, we got 445,000 for it, and that's unusual for us. In these jobs in the past, we've done a job, we paid for it all, and we get stuck with a 20-year bond.
Yeah.
There's no bond anymore for the culvert. We paid all the money back, so that's a good position to be in. And we definitely don't want to hold the town what they're doing on School Street either. So we don't want to be the reason that I agree. If I just made a decision, say forget it, we'll wing it, can't bring it because CDBG won't allow it. So we don't want to get the town in trouble either. So that's why we're here tonight, is kind of ask if there's a way to get the article on there.
Procedurally, is there? Okay.
It's like we're about
And John, just look, the reluctance to bring it to town meeting. I think even though you don't know who you've got in the audience. I think if you're specific, and we always are in every warrant article, it's going to say the source of funding. And that's really that's the sweet spot to say, no, this is it is a ratepayer. So it's almost like the ratepayer saying, wait a minute, why are the non-ratepayers going to it? That's the necessary evil of, not necessarily evil, the process for town meeting. But that's the perspective to give, is to say this is being paid out of water enterprise.
And if you look at the proposed warrant article that was submitted by Mr. Driscoll, it does very clearly say in there that it will be paid from the water plant enterprise fund revenues, water receipts. It's just an obligation. It's just an obligation to the town at that point, because the water department is a subsidiary of the town of Templeton.
Makes perfect sense to me.
And in my thought process, I'm doing the math in my head, obviously, as you did, Manager Driscoll. And the way that I look at it is that I also would agree with you that likely the money is there based on reimbursements. I also see where the consultant is coming from. At the end of the day, if we don't use this $400,000, we go back to town meeting and do a debt rescission for it. It's not a gigantic deal in that respect. So if we don't use it, great, we do a debt rescission. If we need it, it's available. But I agree with Mr. Driscoll's math. I mean, I understand that, I understand you think that we're there and we're fine, but I also see the consultant's point of view here, and that for insurance purposes, especially with the way the last couple of years have been with inflation and the rest, I can see where they would want to have the extra cash.
Adam, anything to add?
The only thing I'll add, and I think Mr. Driscoll explained it quite well, is that we were very fortunate where receiving the MVP grant, because it took care of that, so they no longer will have that on the water budget side. So this will kind of just take that place. Thank you.
Any board member questions?
That was well explained.
Yeah.
Thank you, too.
The key to the townspeople on this is that because it is being paid for out of water receipts, that means it's only going to be paid for basically by the people who pay for town water. Okay, and so like people like me, for example, who are on a town well, aren't going to have to put into this. But so that's the key to understand here, is that it's not going to be spread out across the entire town. It's just going to be the people who are on town water that have to pay for this. And again, it might not even have to. We might not even need it.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
He said it's not like 2 years ago. This isn't going, the rates aren't going to go up.
Right. There's no rate increase for this, right?
So.
Yep, board is all set.
So,
Gail. I said your first name and your last name.
We have this.
Now like Sting or Beyonce, you're now Goal.
Close.
So these funds cover this project. What are the improvement plans for ongoing funding of future improvements?
Well, for us?
Yeah.
This is the big one. A lot of watering breaks on this one. So we've done over the years, Tiny Bond a couple of times, it's done us analysis of our system, what's a priority. And out of 20, this was either number 2 or number 3. I think Sawyer Street's probably the first one.
Yeah.
But it's just so expensive. It's quite mind-boggling, really. And there's a limit to which, when they do a rate study for us, or they do an analysis for us, they take into consideration the customer base. And there's a reasonable percentage or dollar amount you can raise someone's rates before it does become unreasonable. And there's a lot of work to do in this town. Still about 60 to 70% of the water main is still the asbestos cement lined water main, breaks easy. pH in town, a lot of places is quite low, especially on Patriots Road between like the Templeton Center and going toward Phillipston. That stretch of Patriots Road, we have constant breaks over there. One year we had 27 breaks in a single year. I remember one month, many years ago, we had 5 breaks in the same month, about 100 feet from each other. So that project we're gonna handle a little differently, because to redo that water main from the center of town to the Phillipston line is probably $5-6 million. Because it's on a state road. If it was on a normal road, it'd be about $2 million. But because of what the materials you have to use and the guidelines, it's just insane. Maple Street is a little bit easier, a little bit more concrete. We had a water main break back in July 2012, and I still remember them calling me at my house in Leominster to explain to me what's going on. And I was like, you have to be like, you must be crazy. So what do we do? So there's a water main break on Baldwinville, there's 2 on Maple Street, there's 1 on Mill Street, there's one, like, what's going on? So we had some kind of a water hammer or something, and we had all of Baldwinville up for probably almost 24 hours. And it was hot, it was July, it was like 107. It was just miserable. And that's Maple Street, right in front of Bill Harris's business there. Freaking destroyed his driveway. Like, it was just, when you got there, you couldn't believe the size of the hole at the water main break. I was like, well, at least we don't have to do any digging. It's already been destroyed. I mean, I don't remember what the flow is there, but that's probably the worst thing that happened on Maple Street. We have water main breaks on Maple Street constantly. We've been down Maple Street where those people live down the offshoot there, fixing lawns, repaving, asphalt nothing's cheap right now. Asphalt isn't cheap. Nothing's cheap. Every time we have a watering break, we gotta go fix, we got a matter of days really to go fix it, so. And that, like I said, this water main now, the way it's done, when that water main broke that day where it did in front of Bill Harris's business there, nobody involved in the water. There was no way to get everybody water, at least with enough pressure to be able to do anything with it. So that's another reason why we're replacing with ductile iron and just get that main line done. My understanding is we have ductile line all the way from the wells down that road to a certain point already. That's probably an 8-inch. So we're gonna continue that with ductile iron down Maple Street and then up School Street is part of it, and which it's good. We didn't really feel like going up and down School Street with trench paving. It's gonna look like crap. But that was before the town's job came along. So now at least everything's gonna be done at once. It'll be more like Orchard Lane, where everything's coordinated, and when you're done, everything kind of comes out right. Yeah, so.
Did that
But-
answer your
But
question?
projects in the future, they're, the big project in the future is Patriots Road is a big one from Templeton Center to toward Phillipston, so toward the Brow. That's a big one. Sawyer Street's a big one.
But how will they be funded?
Same way. That's the thing. That's why all these projects can be done at once, because like I was talking about, the limit to how much you can raise rates, and we're pretty high right now. I wouldn't want to look at the time bond survey right now. Really didn't like looking at it 10 years ago. I really don't like looking at it now.
There's gotta be $1 billion or more worth of stuff to do. So it's basically the same phased approach that the Capital Improvements Committee uses. They make assessment on using risk management. Like John was saying, the asbestos pipe, they have considerations of where those are and problem spots or otherwise, so. Okay. Liz, you had a question?
Yeah, so the question was, if they're taking money for this, how is that gonna affect their bond rating? And is that gonna keep the town from being able to, borrow their funds because that's happened in the past. I just don't know if that's still relevant today.
Yeah, I think a point that Adam, it paying off your debts, like you said, we're just paid off one and we're taking on debt. It's not going to have a detrimental effect if you pay something off, you take out something else, you're kind of making your credit, you're showing your credit worthiness or otherwise.
Balancing your books,
As
basically.
Yep. As far as what the long terms affect, we would have a roundtable discussion to talk through that. Advisory could probably talk through it in a more in-depth way, but that's good question. Any further discussion? Okay, so you have a draft warrant article in your packet, not what John passed out. He alluded to that. If anyone is so moved to offer a motion using that as the basis.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve the article as presented, subject to town council review.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none on the motion to approve a warrant article for Maple Street additional debt article for annual town meeting pending legal town council review. How do you vote? Tim,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. Thank you very much for your presentation tonight.
thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Dan.
Next. Okay, I think the dam and seawall grant will go fairly quickly. We could do that next, Grace, if you should come. We've got Rich, you're on for the dam grant, the dam grant.
And we just got the vulgar rating on YouTube. Thank you very much.
Well, I do have a lot of opportunities for you. All right. Good evening, Grace.
Good evening. So, over the past week, I've been putting together an application for the Dam and Seawall Repair or Removal Grant Program for the Baldwin Water Supply Dam, aka the Depot Pond Dam. So I think I'm sure Rich can speak to this as well, but I think the last update we gave, we said that there's limited grant funding opportunities because we don't own the dam. However, after doing some more research and talking with the Office of Dam Safety, we do have an option. Each grant is different. For instance, the MVP Action Grant requires express written permission. There's another one that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, but you actually need to own the dam for that one. This one, we just need to have the authority to go on and do the work. So back in, let's see, January of 2022, the select board had a meeting and a hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 139, Sections 1 through 3A. Where we essentially ruled that the dam is a nuisance or dangerous structure and ordered the owner to bring the dam into compliance with the Office of Dam Safety's order. In that order, we essentially reserved the right to order further measures to mitigate the dangerous condition of the dam following a hearing pursuant to MGL Chapter 139 or act pursuant to any other applicable statute. That's what gives us the authority to do this work. So, let's see. All right, so where do I head? We've determined that the next steps in order to mitigate the hazard will be a field data collection and preliminary study of the dam. That includes a topographic survey and map, including a wetland delineation, screening level samplings of the pond sediments, stability and seepage analysis, hydrologic and hydraulic analysis, and finally a planning level alternatives analysis that'll include cost estimates, conceptual designs, as well as possible ongoing maintenance for possible steps forward. So this has been a long, complicated situation regarding this dam, but I think this grant provide some really useful steps forward. There's a 25% cost share that I've been working with TA to come up with that fund, with those funds. Yeah, but I think it's some great steps forward, and I'm sure Rich could share some more.
Rich, anything to add?
Well, this, the last I saw of this anyway, the application, the information being sent in with the application, whichever, she did put down for removing the dam, you know, getting prices, cost estimates or whatever for removing the dam, basically lowering the water and keeping it that way, or replacing the dam or putting it up to current standards, which would be replacing the dam. When this first all started in 2020, I was all for keeping this water supply in place. And now that I've seen the maps and dealt with it a lot more, it's a landlocked piece of land. And I really don't see the town taking possession of it, even for taxes. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see that happening. And if we replace or repair the dam and leave it in place, this is going to do nothing for us but cause future incidences like we're having now. I think we should be aiming at removing the dam and putting an end to it. Because if we leave it in his possession, we know just from past experience with him, he's not going to do anything. He's not going to do the yearly maintenance. And we're going to be responsible again. So I think it's the wisest thing to do with this dam is to have it taken out.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Either Rich or Grayson.
So I have 3 points of interest. In the state had gotten involved, Rich, and I don't know if they levied any fines. April of 2023, before April of 2023, I don't know the exact year, they sent Medi some things that he had to do. Do
All right.
we, as a town,
I can answer that question for you. The state has not levied any fines against this man.
Okay, and so does the
His-
town
the-
take
the-
precedent?
The dam safety order has never been served properly. They have no idea that he even has gotten a copy of it. Because all their process of doing it is sending it certified mail, and I guess he was not signing for it and returning it. So
Okay.
he hasn't been served, so therefore no fines can take place. I guess there's a $5,000 fine per charge that could be imposed on him. But they have to have him served with the paperwork first. And, then it goes through the courts with them after that.
So we have no known reason why that wasn't done?
Because their process ends at sending certified mail.
Okay. So can I move on?
You can, we're talking about the grant, not the entire process though, just so.
Well, it is,
What-
I think it's
what's your-
crucial to the whole situation because the other question that I have is, if we fix it up, can he sell it out from under our feet? Can he sell it out from under our feet? Can he
Not
sell?
until he pays the town back taxes and fines that we've imposed on him,
Ladies,
theoretically.
what's the rule? He sold 24 Holman Street with the back taxes.
I will allow the question.
Thank you, Mike.
I mean, they're supposed to pay it. That's why we're in court with them now.
So the people that bought 24 Holman Street, if they wanted to buy this property, because usually Depot Pond goes with 24 Holman Street. It did when Seaman Paper Company owned it. It did when Medi American Tissue, to my knowledge. Those two properties were going hand in hand. And my biggest concern is, could he sell it even though there's a lien like he did 24 Holman Street? The people that bought that assume the back taxes. So can this be sold out from under our feet?
All his land right now is for sale, as far as we know.
And what would happen if it was a mass casualty? Would they go after him?
I think you're kind of going outside. We're trying to get a grant right now, rather than talk about a
Mhm.
strategy forward or otherwise.
Well-
I don't. I know, because you have been involved with it, I know you're gonna argue that all these things are intertwined, but I'm gonna say, we're trying to do a grant to gather data. That's what we're talking about right now.
The Office of Dam Safety actually recommended the grant.
Okay.
And then the last thing I had is, there's also now a Division of Ecological Restoration. And they came out to Crotty Ave and Christopher Hool, and he was explaining that if we could tie projects together, maybe after this is assessed, it might be a future discussion for Crotty Ave. And then there's another dam over by Otter River that he looked at. And he even mentioned Bailey. Jeff LeGros mentioned Bailey Brook, tying that into Mellon Brook, which is Crotty Ave to Depot Pond.
Well, let's see what the outcome of the
But I-
mitigation strategy is.
Again, I don't in good conscience think, I understand we're in a pinch. It's been since 2000. But we fix it, he sells it, we paid for it, and he already owes us. It doesn't
And-
make sense to me.
Just to clarify, this grant won't actually fix anything
Right,
with the
it's
dam.
just
It's
that-
just to figure out what our options are to fix
Can
it.
we tie it to his property? Oh, so we can tie the charges.
Anything, attorney fees, anything like that, we can add on. Doesn't mean he's gonna pay it, but we can add it on.
Well, that would make sense to me. I'd feel a lot better. And again, it just makes the property less interesting to anyone else. If there's more fees tied onto it, would the people, if anybody ended up buying it, would they have to pay the fees too that are associated with the 25%?
During the sale, the attorneys usually figure out who pays what, but it should be paid during the time of the sale.
You good?
As long as we have that do we have to have that in the motion or how does
No.
that?
No, what we're dealing with right now is approving a grant application.
Okay. And it needs to get done. I agree. I've been really interested in, it's been since 2000, but again, I just wanted to make sure we had our ducks in a row, so we're not paying for something that it's gonna get sold without any Thanks for being here.
Matt,
So I think that the important thing to remember here with this is this, and Greg said it, is that this doesn't replace the dam.
Right.
This is gonna give us information that we need on what our path forward is. In that respect, I think this is a reasonable risk that we have to take. Because until we do something like this, we don't know where we're at. And if we
I
can
think
get.
there's zero risk, if you don't mind me.
That's, and that's fine. I said reasonable, but I mean, and the other thing too here is that if we can get a grant to pay 75% of this cost for us, I think it's an absolute no-brainer to go find it. Let's go get the money and get this done. The other 25%, we can figure out what we want to do with that at a later point. If it's possible for us to tack it on to his bill as a result of we spent this money in order to try to mitigate your problem, then so be that, we can do it. But let's worry about getting this money first and trying to figure out what the path forward here is before we get into anything else as far as remediation or who pays water or anything along those lines. Let's do this first.
Basically, this grant will allow us to get all the data we need to know about the pond, whether it's there's hazardous materials involved, everything. We'll know about it. We'll have a better idea of what we should do with it at that time.
Right. And we absolutely don't have that information available to us now. So.
No, we don't.
And don't get me wrong, this might sting a little, and I'm really grateful that we're going for it, that it's a solution,
I
but
want you to
temper it.
remember what the agenda item is.
Right.
The rest of the board seems fairly silent, and I don't want to be the one I just want you to stay forward with it.
All right.
What would you like to say?
I'm just disappointed that chapter 253, which clearly states the DCR could enforce that order by going in themselves to remove or repair, that wasn't done. And when they had actually looked at it 2 years ago, and it's been ongoing, and they couldn't.
Our order was properly served.
Yes.
So that's good. So to clarify for people that are interested, Mr. Curry, Chairman Curry just said our order was properly served, but the state's order wasn't. So that gives us the
It was us $1 million.
opportunity.
I think that's what it's $1,000 a day.
Yeah, and it's compounding, yeah.
I think it
So-
was a couple meetings ago, I did the
Interest on
quick back of the napkin math, that it's.
Just a general comment. We know we have a problem at the dam.
Mhm.
And I think this is wonderful. The grant opportunities in front of us. We've heard what Tima is recommending for it. I look at this. Let's fine tune, let's figure out what we have. Let's peel back the layers of the onion and let's get to the bottom of it. All pun intended. What is there for sentiment? What other concerns do we have?
It's all I'm doing to you, Terry. is
No,
just to-
I'm
to say,
fine. I'm
I know
actually
there's a lot
really
of things that
happy.
I know there are a lot of things that upset you about this dam, but I just want to.
I'm really happy that it's our charge and that we actually,
So we had
thank you to Rich.
our forethought to be able to have a properly constructed order
And-
is what gives us the authority to go do this, and that was kudos to the board for doing that, so.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any
Mr.
further
Chair?
questions?
Nope, my heart is full.
Then I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I move to approve the submission of the grant.
Second,
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to go after that grant. How do you vote? Tim,
yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Julie?
yes.
And I'm a vote yes as well.
Thank you.
very much.
So
Thank
guys,
you, guys. Thank you.
in this town.
Thank you,
Took
guys.
us a long time to get it.
Paying
Just say
dividends.
Yes.
I can, would the board entertain going to item G, action related to Crown Castle?
Bring it on.
Okay. Item G, action related to Crown Castle agreement to amend the land lease. I believe we have Abigail on.
Yes,
Adam or Abigail. Yep, Abigail, would you like to lead the discussion?
yes. Well, Crown Castle is asking if the town would be interested in adding an additional 25 years to the current lease, and they would be willing to provide a signing bonus of $15,000 for that extension. The rent and your increases and revenue share would continue throughout the extension. Most carriers that are on a tower, I know it sounds like a really long time, but carriers talk in decades, and they want to know that they're going to have a long-term lease so they can keep up with technology. So your lease is expiring in a little under 10 years. So that counts for a very short-term lease in their eyes.
Thanks, Abigail. Any questions for Abigail? Or Adam, do you have any comments on the lease?
I do have one question, and this is going to be to the town administrator. So understanding that the lease amendment, I'm reading directly, by the way, the lease amendment shall include a provision stating that the leasee will pay to the leasee will pay to the lessor them a one-time amount of $15,000 for the full execution of the lease amendment and any applicant, blah, 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 within 60 days of the full execution of the lease agreement. Okay. The reason I bring it up is because that falls under this fiscal year. That falls before June 30th. So I go to you, to the town administrator, and ask, do we have the $15,000 available to us in this budget that we can pay them in order to?
No, we would pay that.
Oh, it's the other way around? I apologize.
Yes.
I thought I.
No, I was.
Okay, so.
Goes into our revenues.
Okay, so in that case, it's the other way around.
Yes.
I draw my question. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. I needed that clarification. Thank you.
Me and on that one.
No, Crown Castle is always also asking for removal of an administrative requirement. Currently, they are required, according to your lease, to request anytime a carrier does any form of modification on the lease, they have to prepare a package of a formal letter along with drawings and submit it to the town. The town then has 30 days to approve, and if 30 days go by, that's considered the town's approval. Well, historically, the 30 days just go by and nothing has happened. So they're asking if you would consider removing that requirement in the amendment, and they would increase the signing bonus to $20,000.
So let me just make sure that I get this right, because obviously I messed up the first one.
No,
Be quiet.
So if we remove this clause, which basically we don't take any action on this clause to begin with, they give us the requirements, 30 days go by, we take no action, 30 days after that, it's basically acceptance by lack of action at that point. If we just
Correct.
remove the clause, you're gonna give us another $5,000.
yes.
It basically drawing based.
Yeah.
I saw the drawings in the packet, and this is a renewal. This isn't like they're installing new equipment or otherwise. So I
Right.
think that's a reasonable ask. If
I-
if we've gone beyond the 30-day
Yeah,
period before for drawings that we already have that are not going to substantially change. I know in the past when we've gone up for renewal for this, they've talked about tech refreshes. They've got technology refreshes where they've had to change some equipment, but it didn't substantially change the terms of the lease or
No.
the footprint drawings that you've seen.
Mr. Chair, right here in 2011, they made a correction right here in 2011.
They made a correction our time on the board as well.
Yep.
I think that is, I think what Abigail has proposed is
reasonable.
reasonable. Adam, I have a question. Any amendment made, to the, for an approval or recommendation to, renew, would it require a legal review? Or is this, because it's a renewal, is it already legally sufficient?
But what the board could do is on the motion, if they're open to, if I may, Mr. Chairman. They can, if they're fine with the amendment that was suggested to approve the amendment with the proposal, and then for town council review, approving that, and that should suffice.
Okay. So if there are no further questions for either Adam or Abigail, I would entertain a motion in light of the proposed amendment from Abigail representing Crown Castle and a legal sufficiency review.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. We will need an amendment agreement to amend the lease form signed.
Okay.
It can be emailed to me. It's not the formal lease extension documents. It's just to get the process started.
Okay. I believe Adam can take care of that.
Okay, thank
Administration.
you.
Does he need to be in the amendment?
No, I mean, from a procedural sense, we're voting to approve that amendment.
Yep.
And then
Okay,
for the town administrator to sign pending legal review.
okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the agreement with Crown Castle to amend the land lease and for Adam to approve subject to town council review.
Yes.
Seconded.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
It says to remove administrative requirements and the 30-day requirement. So you would have to first agree to amend the current agreement with those things, not just the land lease.
That's not what she said, to approve the proposed amendment.
She just, said to amend the lease.
The agreement, I said.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, and for the TA to sign pending legal review.
Mhm.
Yep. Gail, I know before the meeting you had sent an article or otherwise, there's any, okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to approve the proposed amendment and for the TA to sign the resulting lease extension pending legal review. How do you vote, Tim?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes,
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes as
little
well.
confusing, but I'll vote yes.
Yep, we're taking on, yeah.
Conversation.
So the vote wasn't unanimous. The vote basically throws it to Adam to work with Abigail on the amendment. They need that document to basically amendment, and then the final agreement, the TA has will gain legal sufficiency, and then we're good. The lease agreement will be approved.
Sounds good.
Okay. Abigail, thank you for your time this evening.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Abigail.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Okay. I'm gonna go back, and we're gonna go back in order. So we're down to item C. So we've got 3 items left. Item C, budget discussion. H, just discussion related to a no trespass order process. And then old business, we've got obviously we're prepped for a insurance discussion this evening.
Mr. Chairman, could
Yep.
we move that and do the health and dental insurance renewal now?
Is that a motion?
It is.
We have it.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to move the insurance discussion to right now. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I won't take a roll call for a vote. All those in favor of moving item 7A to right now, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing one opposed and four, we will, that was approved. We will move 7A to
Down.
next in the agenda. Okay. Adam, how do we want the structure of this discussion to proceed?
You have the Honorable Kevin Pecos here from NFB
Goodness.
presenting for, they do our insurance. We contract with NFP
Mhm.
and they do a fabulous job for us.
Okay.
And I think we can take it from here.
Okay. And this is this is kind of a twofold. It's a presentation and this is on our agenda item as an action item. So we'll take the presentation in order, and then if the board has any action, we'll take it thereafter.
Mr. Chairman, I think Rick is gonna start off.
Yep, introductions.
Just for the,
Yeah, the microphone is great. I think TCTV is pretty good. As long as you're close to it, you don't have to, it's not non-directional.
okay.
Good evening.
Good evening. Nice to be here, Mr. Chairman, and men and women on the board. My name is Rick LaFond. I am the town administrator in Webster, and I'm the chair of the health group, Mass Strategic Health Group. Thank you. Can see what consultants come in handy sometimes. And I'm going to be uncharacteristically short. I have been the chairman for about 8 months now. This group was formed about 5 years ago with 3 communities, one run regional school district and 2 towns who were all self-insured at the time, who understood that they could not stay self-insured for very long. None of them were really large enough in their own right to do that. So they formed this joint purchase group. It's a little unique because most joint purchase groups, you would have, similar plan design. Usually similar demographics, regional, within the same region. This is a little bit different in that this group, participants can maintain their own plan design. The benefit is some economies of scale for stop loss, and out of fixed, your fixed programs like your retirement costs and significant savings on your administrative costs. So there's a lot of flexibility. In the last 2 years, the group has grown from 3 to 16. 2 of them are small JPA, so there's 14 voting members. I guess the key I want to leave you with is, I've been at this about 32 years now. 6 budget processes left, and I'm gone. I measure my tenure as budget processes. So I've been in the situation where you have an insurer that hands you the bill, you pay the bill. And I've been in a situation where I've extracted 2 communities from that dynamic. With a joint purchase group, you have a seat at the table. You have equal decision-making authority over what its benefits, plans available. The most important thing is you have access to all your data. On a monthly basis, I have access to stop loss, large claim information, ongoing claims. When you have information, you can make decisions. You don't have that when somebody just hands you the bill. So it makes a difference when you have control. You can manage your program. You can't manage it when they just hand you the bill. So I think the overwhelming number of cities and towns in and school districts now in the state belong to a joint purchase group. And again, for the same reason, you can't, I know in our case, we've got about a $60.5 million budget. With about close to 10% of that is health insurance. So it's to not be able to manage what is, one of your largest, easily your largest fixed cost is a real disadvantage. So what I want to leave you with is I think the information that they're going to present with regard to the group itself, the financial benefits, flexibility. I'll let the pros do it, but I think from my standpoint, having control over your present and future is, to me, that's worth a lot. So I'd actually pay a little bit more for that just to have that, but that won't be your case here. Because from what I understand, you really have extraordinary experience. And so when you're in a joint purchase group, you're not paying someone else's bill. You're paying your own bill.
And I think this is a very advantageous situation for this town right now. So again, for me, that was very short, so thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, Ken and I will introduce ourselves to the board. Let me say that it's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm listening to your meeting with a great deal of nostalgia being stirred up in me. I was in Select Things for just a little shy of 9 years in my hometown of North Reading, many years ago. And I dare say the job was a lot simpler back when I did it than it is when you good ladies and gentlemen do it. So kudos to you for accepting the mantle of leadership. It is not these days. It is a wonderful thing to be a citizen that's willing to step up. So good to you.
Thank you.
I've been a town manager for 42 years, before I retired 10 years ago. I know I probably do look out old because you're doing the math right now, 10 years. I've been a licensed broker for 21 years now. And I've learned a great deal about, both as a town manager and as a licensed broker, about how health insurance and other employee benefit programs work. And I'm very glad to have been working as your advisor here for I think 5 years now. As much as I am proud of the knowledge I've gained through experience, I have to defer the gentleman to my right. Ken has been an insurance broker and a licensed insurance advisor of a higher designation than mine for over 40 years. And as I like to say, and I say this with great humility and pride, Ken has probably forgotten more about insurance than I would know.
There you go.
Which is perfectly fine.
Back there.
Which is why he's here. So I'm gonna do the easy part of this presentation. And then when we get into the more complex numbers, Ken is an underwriter as well, and Ken will take you through the numbers. So it looks like an ominous large deck. It's gonna go a lot faster than you think because a lot of these slides are for exhibit, and we'll refer to them, but not go through them. We are your broker advisors. As such, our job is to try to find the best deal we can for you and your employees in the area of health insurance, dental, and related health products, if you have them, vision, etc. Our charge as of 1 week ago was very easy because at that point you hadn't yet made the decision to solicit competitive bids. And as the board knows, you took the action you took last week. Adam called me in the morning and said, "Hi there, we're going to get competitive bids. You got a week, go." So we have been working feverishly for a week. Now, I will tell you, it is the nature of health insurance, the marketplace for municipalities these days, that you don't always get multiple quotes. We have been very fortunate to be able to secure one other quote. We had a number of others that declined. The marketplace is a small place now for municipal insurance. There's the 4 big carriers who give you fully insured health insurance: Harvard Pilgrim, Tufts, now umbrellaed under Point 32, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Mass General Brigham. There used to be more, but those are the 4 primary carriers for active employee insurance. They declined. Blue Cross won't compete with Maya because Blue Cross is the exclusive exclusive provider for Maya. Harvard Pilgrim, Tufts, and Mass General all declined on a fully insured basis. The other markets that you can go out to are all the JPAs, the joint purchase arrangements. They come in different varieties, but they're all collaboratives of cities and towns that buy health insurance together. Thus, by spreading risk, drop the pricing or at least stabilize it. So if one entity has a bad year, the others help it out, and vice versa as the years go by. The big insurers in the state, GIC, Group Insurance Commission, far and away the biggest. We can't engage them unless you go through a fairly convoluted process called Section 21 through 23 of Master General Law, Chapter 32B. There is no time to go through that process right now. And we didn't go down that lane because in 1 week, it's impossible. You have Maya, a second large joint purchase arrangement. Around you are quite a number of other joint purchase arrangements, collaboratives. And one of them, Mass Strategic, which is, I believe, probably in the top 2 or 3, other than Maya and the GIC, stepped forward and gave you a proposal. So I don't need to take you down what the Maya proposal is. It's your status quo. You know what it is.
Yep.
I don't need to explain that. But Ken and I would be happy to answer any questions.
we've got about 20 of our clients are in Maya, so we have a very deep knowledge of Maya. I'm a founding member of the Maya group, and I was a town manager. I was a member of the Maya Board of Directors for a decade. I was chairman of the Board of Directors for 3 years, so I know Maya inside and out. And we can help you with any questions you might have with respect to that. What we're really going to do tonight is we're going to take you through the Mass Strategic Health Group quote. Now, I hasten to add, we don't have a horse in the race. Our job is to bring you the quote. Our job is to analyze those quotes if you get more than one. Our job is to tell you which one we think is the superior quote and why. Our job is not to advocate for that quote. There is a decision to be made. It will be your decision, and that will be the correct decision. As I like to say, there's only one decision to be made tonight. That's the correct one, and that's going to be the one you decide. So our job is to not be an advocate. Our job is to elucidate the facts. We shall try to do that. So who is NFP? We're a company with about 50,000 corporate clients, 150 offices across the country, 4,800 employees, over 400 clients in Massachusetts alone, with about 80 municipalities, so about a quarter of the state, rough and tough. We're advisor to 4 JPAs. It's actually 5 now. Then we focus on health, dental, life, vision, LTD, and STD. Sample client list in this immediate area: Maynard, Hudson, Ashburnham, Westminster Regional School, Dunstable, and Clinton, and many, many others as we get outside the town. So commercial advertisement over, I promised you, but you don't know who we are, so we kind of needed to do that. So let's talk about a little bit of background. You have an extraordinary extraordinarily favorable history with respect to your health insurance renewals. On 7/1/19, you had a 0.34 increase, and on 7/1/20, 4.69, on 7/1/22, 0.55, 22 is a rate hold or a 0, 7/1/23, 1.5, and 7/1/24, 3.56. That is a 6-year average rate of 1.7. What that means is not that your health insurance has gone up by 8 or 9 or 10 or 11%, averaging 1.7. It's actually only gone up 1.7. That is a stunning record. Unfortunately, on the next page 5, this rate renewal history consistently at the bottom of the Maya range, and you've been in Maya for those 6 years, continues to suggest that Templeton's rates are higher than necessary. Now, Maya is a big organization, just like the GIC is a big organization. In big organizations, in any given year, members that are having low claims will pay their premium, and they will be subsidizing members who have high claims. That's a good model. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have the renewal history that you have, it says to us as underwriters that you are consistently paying more than you should and consistently sending money to other members of Maya who are not doing well, because you are consistently at the bottom of the Maya rate range. As you know, Maya publishes a range every year. They don't do one rate. And you are consistently at the dead bottom of that range. We know that. Our underwriters have looked at your history and have come to that conclusion. But because of the situation given to us last week by the board and by Adam to solicit quotes, we had the Mass Strategic Health Group underwriter look at your claims history and your loss ratio. Your loss ratio is 74%, meaning for every $1 of premium that you pay, 74 cents gets paid out in claims. That is an extraordinarily good record. There is about another 10 to 15% that gets paid for administration and overhead, which leaves you around 90% as a composite, all costs in loss ratio. Where does that other 10% go? That's the overpayment you're making. So when the actuary, who is also the underwriter for the Mass Strategic Health Group, looked at your history, on page 6, he gave us this quote in blue. The truth is that Maya has made a huge profit on this group, Templeton, since they joined. Now, I can tell you from knowing that gentleman, he does not engage in hyperbole. I don't know if you know any underwriters and actuaries, but they tend not to be funny people. He's a pretty serious guy. I got a couple of friends that are actuaries, and you gotta kind of explain jokes to
The
them.
mathematicians usually are.
Yeah. So this guy is not given a hyperbole. So for him to write that, it is in writing, is pretty extreme. So Mass Strategic Health Group is giving you an offer. Who is the Mass Strategic Health Group? Rick is the chairman of that group. They are blessed to have him. Mass Strategic Health Group is a regional municipal employee health insurance purchasing collaborative formed under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 12. They purchase employee health insurance, dental, vision, life insurance, compulsory and voluntary, and the best and largest municipal retiree health insurance plan in the United States, which happens to be the Aetna plan, and we'll talk about that, on behalf of their members. The Mass Strategic Health Group was built by municipalities to serve municipal employees, specifically constructed for municipal benefit. They are governed by a board of directors consisting of town administrators, school superintendents, school business managers, municipal CFOs, treasurers, educational collaborative CSOs, et cetera. They were originally 3 members when they formed. Webster is a charter member. On 7/1/22, they added 10 more members. On 7/1/23, they added another group of members, and they are now 21 members, and they are still growing. They are the fastest growing joint purchase arrangement in the state of Massachusetts. Nobody even comes close. They currently have 5,000 active employee subscribers, 6,500 retiree subscribers in the group, and somewhere around 17,000 employees and dependents who are now insured by this group. So it's big. They are heavily engaged in a number of innovative things that nobody else is doing. And I'll tell you about those things as we go along. Number one is wellness. They have the best wellness programmings of all the JPAs, we believe, and they're all about educating the employees and empowering them to take advantage. If you have diabetes, they have a wellness program to engage you and to put you into a management program. If you are a police officer or a firefighter, they have a excellent program which has been endorsed by the Fire Chiefs Association and the Police Chiefs Association to detect early cardiovascular disease in police officers and firefighters and put them into a program of prevention. It has been heralded as probably the most effective program of its type in America, and this group is the only group in Mass currently offering it. They also have something called pharmacy benefit management. Now, we all know you cannot watch a TV for 5 minutes without hearing a drug commercial. If you pay close attention, and you will after tonight, at the end of that commercial, you will hear something like, if you can't afford your AstraZeneca, call da-da-da-da. Anybody have a call? I love to ask your IEC these questions. I've been
Food is
working.
medicine.
Nobody ever calls. I've asked this question in 50 or 60 cities and towns. Nobody calls. And the reason nobody calls is because nobody believes it. Or if you're like me, you take lisinopril for my high blood pressure. I pay $30 a month or $90 every 3 months. And so if I call and they're going to save me $3, it's just not worth the effort because you're going to be on the phone an hour getting the forms filed. But let's say you are on Keytruda to the tune of $10,000 to $12,000 per infusion every 3 weeks, one of the cancer miracle drugs, or you're on one of the diabetes management drugs, Ozempic and all those that new class of drugs that just came out. And oh yes, they're good for weight reduction, I hear, but as we all know, it's not about weight reduction. It's about diabetes management. Wink, wink. So if you're on those meds, you're paying a lot of money. Pharmacy benefit management is all about engaging a PBM company who contracts directly with the drug manufacturers, reduces the price to their clients, and that's what the Mass Strategic Health Group is doing. Now, everybody is doing this. Blue Cross does it, Maya does it, the GIC does it, everybody does it. What distinguishes the Mass Strategic Health Group is they do it and they return dollar for dollar every single rebate or coupon back to the individual city and town members of the Mass Strategic Health Group. No one else is doing that. Maya, Blue Cross does it, takes the bulk of the money, gives Maya a little bit. And supposedly it shows up in your rate somewhere as a reduction because Maya has that money, but there is no direct correlation. Same with the GIC, same with all the other JPAs. Mass Strategic is the only one that gives it back directly to its members. How effective is it? Page 14. In the 5 years that the Mass Strategic Health Group has existed with this program, they have amassed $6 million, which currently sits in their treasury and is not yet identified for what they want to do with it. They're using it as their operating capital. And I'll explain how that benefits you because it has a huge potential benefit for Templeton. $6 million in 5 years. This is a serious amount of money that comes back for pharmacy benefit management. And the group, the board of directors, which Rick chairs, is now beginning to discuss, hey, that's great news. What are we going to do with the 6 million? And they've already got a report identifying with each community. They'll figure it out, I'm sure. The next slide, page 15, all that colorful icons are all the different preventative care programs that the Mass Strategic Health Group engages in. One of the things they do with some of that 6 million is they pay all these vendors because they all got to get paid. But there's a program in here for retirees, for folks that have diabetes, for folks that have cardiovascular disease, et cetera, et cetera. And they offer the largest municipal retiree health insurance program in the United States with over 1.5 million members, rated #1, the best plan available by the Group Insurance Commission, which insures all the state employees in 32 cities and towns, called the Aetna Medicare Advantage Plan. The Aetna Medicare Advantage Plan, and I won't go through all these slides. What I will tell you, the bottom line is this. They offer you the identical benefit structure that you currently have with your MedX2 plan. They offer additional benefits in addition to MedX2, and they offer it at a price which is 15% below your MedX2 price. And we're going to take you through those numbers in just a minute. We have presented this Aetna plan to, I think 15 or 16 communities at this point, including Fall River, Stoughton, which is a town, but is as big as any city we know, and then a whole bunch of small towns and 100% acceptance. Now, we haven't done that yet with your retirees, but depending upon the board's vote tonight, we may be engaging in that. We have not had one single group of retirees yet, once they hear about the program, say anything except, yes, we want it. Where do we sign up? And once they do, a month or two down the line after they join it, we get nothing but tremendously positive reaction to the retirees who are in this program. Same with the active program. So if you flip to page 21 rather, I just burned through about 5 slides there on the Aetna plan, just in the interest of time. Here is the offer that Mass Strategic has made to you. No increase in your current rate, a rate hole, a 0. So that puts you 3.56 percentage points below where the Meyer offers. Secondly, all surplus generated, if your rate is higher than is needed to pay your claims, and we know it is, dollar for dollar, any money you paid in Mass Strategic, which is not needed to pay claims, comes back to you and is deposited in an account in your name. It's your money, and you do with it what you choose. Cautionary note, the statute 32B section 3 provides that the ownership of that money is proportional to the way it was paid in. You're a 75-25 contributory share community, so 25% of that money is owned by the employees, and the employees enjoy the right to say how they want to receive it. They can receive it in the form of a premium holiday, i.e. they don't pay premium for a month. They can receive it in the form of a check. They can receive it in the form of a reduction in the following year's rates. It's their money. The 75%, which the town paid in, is your money. The current fee paid that you pay to us of $9,500 is eliminated, and that gets put into the rate. We get paid through the rate. As Rick said earlier, one of the significant differences between Mass Strategic and Maya is that you have complete access to your claims data. Claims data is gold. Without claims data, it's difficult to get quotes. We're very fortunate Mass Strategic is basically taking a chance on you by giving you the zero because they're doing it blind without claims data, but they're doing it with this rate history, which they can impute means good things in terms of claims. So on roughly the 15th of each month following the completion of the prior month, August 15th of 2024, if you join Mass Strategic, we will give you your claims run for the month of July. If it generated a surplus, we'll tell you it'll be in your bank account. If it generated a negative, you didn't pay as much as your claims that were necessary. Here's a marvelous thing that Mass Strategic does. They'll pay the bill, the difference from that 6 million, and they won't ask you for it. Now, if month over month over month for the first year, you don't pay as much as you should, then in the second year, your rate has to go up.
Mhm.
The communities in Mass Strategic are gracious, generous, but not to a fault because they're towns too. But they will extend that privilege to you in the first year. That is a pretty unusual provision. And your rate will have to go up in year 2 to compensate for that. And again, that's $6 million I told you about, that's where it comes from. Mass Strategic would be dumb if they were willing to take a risk like that on you. They're not. Because if you decide you want to take advantage of their offer and you petition them for membership, the board of directors led by Rick is not going to let you in that group if they are not absolutely sure you're not going to cost them money. They're extremely successful. They've rejected a number of communities that have petitioned them for membership, and they're not going to take anybody in that's going to prove risky to their best interest. Believe me, you guys are the kind of profile that they like. Small community, clean, long-term record. May not have claims, but you got great renewals, and other communities that have come in have had good claims. So you will have full disclosure on what's happening with your rate. Now, again, if what happens that we expect and what we're quite sure of is that you're going to pay more than you need for claims, that's going to come back to you. You'll have full access to the pharmacy rebates beginning 7/1/24, and those rebates will be your property and your employees. Not the groups. This offer comes with 100% duplication of your current benefit structure with Maya. No changes, no copay changes, no deductible changes, no anything, and the exact same provider network that you have now. Same doctors, same hospitals, same MRI providers, et cetera, et cetera. If the town wants, we will do a cross match for you to ensure that, but we know it's the case. The next slide doesn't do anything except take you through your current benefit structure on the left side and the retiree, and show the Maya and the Mass Strategic benefit structures side by side so you can see on paper what you can keep, because this has to be real. We can't give you stuff in writing if it isn't real. So it's real, same benefits. The retiree health plan on page 23, their rates are 15% below the MedX2 rates. As I've already said to you, the Aetna plan is the #1 rated plan by the GIC in the state of Massachusetts. They're just offering it now after a nationwide RFP process last year, and they're beginning to offer it this year. It duplicates all your current retiree benefits. There are additional benefits in the area of hearing, vision, meals after hospitalization and recuperation, and access to every single Medicare provider in America. It is the network for the Aetna plan is every Medicare provider. So if you decide to take vacation, you're a retiree on this plan, and you decide to go on vacation in Nebraska, you get access to every Medicare doctor in that state. If you're a snowbirder and you go to Florida, you've got 100% coverage in that state. And the best part, no referrals. The next page just gives you the rundown between the two plans again, and it shows you the MedX benefit in the yellow column and the replacement senior plan, the Aetna plan, in the green column. And as you can see, they're either identical or they're actually a little better in the green column. And you can see the rate. So the MedX rate is $370 per month per member. So if it's a husband and wife retiree, then it's $317 per month times 2. If it's a single person retiree, then they pay the $317. The Aetna rate is $315. So there's a very, very, very substantial savings for both the employee and for the town. And you are, I believe, a 50-50 town, correct? You pay 50% of the 75-25.
For the actives.
Okay, that's right. So there's very substantial savings here for both the retiree and the town. Okay, getting close to the end, page 25. So here's the summary. When we take on those charts, these interior charts, we showed you the great big comparative charts where we compute all of your current enrollees times your Maya rate, all your current enrollees times your Mass Strategic rate, and then we do the same for the retirees. What emerges is a savings to Templeton and your employees of $73,515. Those are hard dollars. Those are not speculative. They're not projected. That's a 0 compared to a 3.56 for the actives and the 2 rates I just showed you for the retirees times your enrollees equals a total. We total it for Maya, we total it for Mass Strategic, and Mass Strategic offers 73,000 less. In addition, we compute your expected pharmacy rebates. Now, this one is a projection, but it's a very sophisticated projection. We've done it conservatively because what we don't want you to do, if you decide to do this, is next year say, hey, that 22,000 you said turned out to be 10. We would fully expect to get fired on the spot. We would like to not get fired. So,
Okay.
what's that? Oh, so Kenny's gonna jump in here.
Let's have Kevin quiet down. So.
Here we go.
Do you need a bottle of water?
That would be lovely, thanks. One and dry.
See if they have a bottle of water.
There's 2 communities that are in, we have water, right, stuff of water. I guess that's a subject tonight is water, right, between the dam and. Water breaks on that. So one thing we wanted to point out to you is that Kevin's right, we're using as many conservative projections as possible. But there's 2 communities in this program that are about the same premium size, which kind of equates to, the sum of the medical care costs, prescription drug costs. So town of Salisbury, about 1.4 million in premium, which is right about where we are. Their RX rebates after 1 year was 75,000.
Oh.
So I think 22 is pretty low on the estimate. And in another community, Merrimack, which is only about 1.1 million premium, is actually 35,000. So I think we're probably on the lower end of the scale. And I just want to, while on the subject, so the 4 big things here, as an underwriter trying to evaluate risk and why is this rate where it is. So the administrative costs are cheaper than because the program is through Harvard Pilgrim, but they're using their independent third party. But the employees will see Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare on their ID card. The providers will see Harvard Pilgrim. So for all intents and purposes, Harvard Pilgrim. Just as big, if not bigger than Blue Cross in the state now that they have 0.32 health, and they've also added Health New England too as a new business partner. So it's the administration, the prescription drugs program, because of the rebates is less costly. And in addition to that, not that you need me to get overly, complicated, but the pool level that they've assigned to this particular community, which is where do we stop having large claims have a negative impact, is remarkably low.
Yeah.
So for instance, one of the issues we had with Meyer is they allow you to accrue large claims up to $125,000, which is pretty significant for a small community. But the way they structure it here in Mass Strategic is your pool level is going to be probably $40,000. So yeah, there's a high premium, but we're limiting the cost exposure. Now, Rick's organization, Webster, has a much larger pool level because it's a bigger organization. And then there's other organizations that are sort of mid-sized and they have a different pool level. So this flexibility controls really how we don't have a really bad loss year have a negative impact. So those are the points that kind of, when you sum them up, does make sense. I think Kevin's right. We probably would have liked to have seen a rate decrease. We probably felt it was just, but actuaries being actuaries probably felt that a rate hold was probably appropriate.
The only reason the underwriter wouldn't give you a rate decrease, I mean, he frankly said what he said, and it's a quote from him. is because he has to take his recommendation. If you decide you want to admit, you send in a letter to Mass Strategic, it goes to the Board of Directors. The underwriter has to make a presentation to the Board of Directors and justify your admittance at that rate. Because he has no claims, he cannot justify a negative. And besides that, you don't really want to do that. What you really should want to do is to have your rate be a 0. That's a terrific place to be anyways. And then let the surplus accumulate and be sitting on a very substantial reserve by the end of next year, combination of rate overpayment and pharmacy benefit rebates, and then have the enjoyable task of deciding what would you like to do with a very substantial amount of money.
Yeah, and then just one last comment, I think, and then we probably want to have some questions from you folks. So the renewal process is interesting. I'll give you an example. So this year, working with the town of Grafton, the folks that have managed this program along with town management actually had a discussion and considered 3 different options. One was sort of a risk adjustment based on maybe not applying the prescription drug rebates, and that came up to 7.2%. Then they said, but if we include the rebates, it comes down to 1.5%. So the town said, we really don't want to just undercut the rates and we don't want to overcharge. So they actually suggested a 4.7%. And the membership's involved in the discussion because ideally we want to make sure that the overall recommendation produces some surplus. Because as I understand it, and not unlike every budget in fiscal year 26, it's much more difficult than fiscal year 25 and so forth. So we really do want to think about not just making a decision today, but then creating the opportunity to have some say in that actual rate increase. So this is a unique model, much different than the way folks have used.
By the way,
Can I just
I'm sorry, Rick, go ahead.
be a little boots on the ground in Webster. As Kenny said, we had 2 options. It was the straight rate, and there was the rate that was lower because of using the RX rebates, the conservative number. So we did have presumably somewhere between 3.7% and 1.5% range rate, but there is a requirement in a participation agreement for each member to have a certain amount of surplus. Between 8 to 12%. So Webster isn't quite there yet. So we need to be able to build a little bit more surplus to comply with the participation. So, so we added another point to the 3.7, which this is not a good year to do that, but we have to, meet our requirement. I would say probably half the members, if not more, haven't quite met that yet. So it's a matter of slow, steady buildup of surplus over a period of time. We don't expect people to come in here, and increase their rate, but, walk in at a rate that's 5 times higher than it needs to be to hit a surplus.
Yeah.
So everybody's supposed to get there. Like I said, there's only a few towns that are there at the moment, but, we're working towards it, and that's why in Webster, we didn't take the RX rebate, we took the, the other rate, the higher straight rate, and we had to point to that for us to start building more surplus. It sounds like Templeton's probably gonna start out with some serious surplus right up front, because rather than having, a negative 10 or whatever it probably should have been, at 0, you're gonna start building surplus. You're gonna probably be closer to the required surplus faster than a lot of members that have been in here for years.
Which is why the 0 is a good place to be, because it positions you beautifully for the future. Closing. So, big advantage of Mass Strategic, in addition to all the things I've told you, is your program is your program. Mass Strategic does not tell you what your benefit structure needs to be. That's your decision. Mass Strategic does not tell you what your rates need to be. That's your decision. Mass Strategic won't let you set an irresponsible rate, but then again, nobody does set irresponsible rates. So you control your program, huge advantage. Newest member of Mass Strategic, as of 1 month ago, is Narragansett Regional School District. They did have claims information because they're about 200, and they were admitted at a -10. Now, so their rate was cut 10%, and they're admitted in, and they will still turn a surplus. The underwriter did that because they had full claims because they're way over 100. As of this morning at 11 o'clock, the town of Dunstable's IEC voted to petition Mass Strategic to become a new member. That petition will go to Mass Strategic on the 16th of May. I'm sorry, 16th of April for the board to react. They are also under 100. They also have no claims data, but their renewal is almost twice as good as yours. Their composite 60 renewal is 0.92%. So they actually are in an even better position. They were also offered a 0 for the identical reason. So they will probably become the next newest member. So that is our presentation. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. Sorry for all the detail, but it is a complex subject and it's needed.
Great, thanks.
So we'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, if I could just point out, I'm not an insurance advisor. I'm more of an advocate. I was here more or less to answer any questions you might have.
Understood.
Although I have to tell you that they can probably answer more questions about my health than I can. Such deep in. So why am I here? Because, some advocacy, we want the cash flow. And the reality is, you have a group that is basically built on economies of scale. Stop loss, at the end of the administration, and there are thresholds in the retiree program that as you hit certain membership thresholds, you get discounts. So that's why I'm here. You're not gonna put us already, get us, great difference to the next threshold, but small town, great experience, that's would be what any health group would want, so mine is somewhat of a low key, no hard sell advocacy.
Great. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks.
Select board questions.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah, I want to,
It's related to this entirely.
okay.
So 2 weeks ago, I spoke before this board and stated that it is our responsibility to, number one, take a look at our health insurance in the mindset that we need to find a comparable plan that potentially can provide cost savings to the town of Templeton. This does that. If you take a look at this presentation, basically it is 100% the same as what we currently have in enrollees and seniors. And actually, seniors get a few extra benefits on top of it. They get eyeglasses. There's a few things that they gain. And one thing that they didn't have before, that they will get in this case, is an out-of-pocket maximum.
Hello.
They did not have an out-of-pocket maximum under Maya. They would have a $3,400 out-of-pocket maximum with this plan if we decide to go that route. Okay, so, and that's huge. Because we know that medical costs are, just like everything else, skyrocketing. To have an out-of-pocket maximum for our seniors is a huge deal. $150 eyewear reimbursement for our seniors, $1,700 allowance every 24 months for nursing services for our seniors. This is all added benefits.
Almost like
This,
tired.
right? 25 years. God, that's a depressing thought. But the bottom line is, this is serving the town's employees well. This will serve the town's employees well, in my mind. In my mind, this is a no-brainer about which method I'm going to go. I think that I'm going to leave it at that. But the bottom line is, this is why I voted to vote it, because I knew there was something better. And I'm glad that we came back and we have been shown something. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Matt.
I know this is, understand my lane here a little. I think just point out that it wasn't that many years ago where this wasn't even available. So I wasn't in Webster at the time, even though Webster's one of the money, I was not one of those places at the time. So I can't take credit for that, but again, this is new. And I think one of the things that we see as time goes on is that healthcare is changing at a more rapid pace. You don't have control, you can't.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So it's still a split. I reached out to everybody and it's still a 4-4 split. So we'll be able to refer to the insurance advisory committee for any recommendation.
Also, point of order, what do you mean it's a split?
Thank you, Mike.
The 4 that wanted to stay with Maya still want to stay.
Specifically polled them.
They actually, yeah, and they
I didn't accept that.
they contacted me. That's why I brought my computer. They contacted me. They sent me through email.
I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable.
Well, it says right here, or send it back to,
What I'll be comfortable with. Is to send it to the IAC for their recommendation. I don't want to go off of what, every individual member.
not every
Oh, Julie.
individual member, the 4 representatives.
They haven't heard this.
They haven't heard this presentation, so then their thought processes may change as a result of this presentation. We don't know that.
Why
This-
did they send it to me in advance?
Point of order.
Go ahead, Julie.
Oh, I don't know. Never mind.
Why did they send it
Sometimes.
to me? in advance?
I forwarded today.
The 4,
It was forwarded
Mhm.
by the town administrator. That's the email you're referring to right now, Terry. Those 4 people that gave you some information on their thoughts in regards to health and dental for the town sent it to our town administrator,
okay,
who then forwarded it to this board so that we could see how some groups wanted to stay with Maya or some groups wanted to look at something else. But again, I agree. They haven't
Not-
heard
yeah,
this.
yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
so we'll, okay.
This
Yeah,
was
Steve-
prior to tonight's presentation. Do you understand
Mhm.
where that is now?
Yeah, so like when you were saying that you told us, I was.
I didn't tell them, they just.
So they had time to look at the presentation because it was forwarded to them as well.
Okay.
But they had already given their opinion prior to the presentation being sent to them.
Yeah, and as we pile on to that discussion, I also had people reach out to me, Matt McAuliffe, Nick Houston,
Yeah.
Eric Baker, Eric Smith, all spoke on behalf of the unions that they
That's what I'm
represent.
saying.
Okay,
Right, but
that's a union reps.
But at the same time, the IAC has not voted. We can't speak for the IAC, you know?
Right, so, but that was before that, so I would poll them again, because now that we've got the presentation and the documentation to be able to look at it, and we have some flexibility, a little bit of flexibility, time-wise. Yes, no?
Well, I mean, Mass Strategic, I don't know what their deadline is, but Maya's was April 1st. So.
Mass Strategic meets on the 16th, I believe, and they have you on their agenda for that date.
Okay.
I suspect that's the last opportunity you'll have because if you stay with Maya, it's status quo. You don't have to do anything except raise your rate. If you go to Mass Strategic, then there's going to be a process of working with the employees. It's all done electronically. Nobody signs form, but there is still a process. And there's a component where we meet with the retirees and bring in a company called Retiree First, put on breakfast and take the retirees through how that program works. So we need a little bit of time and we wouldn't be able to do it if a decision wasn't made till May. So I don't want to say you have to decide tonight, but you do have to decide before the 16th. And Maya wants an answer on April.
Before the 16th.
Right,
Obviously.
and Maya wants an answer on April 1st, so
Yeah, we've already got some correspondence back from them.
I will tell you-
It wasn't great. It was more than what we had before. So I think we need to start putting our pencil, but I don't, I don't want any disrespect to you, Terry. When you said that, me and IAC, if you were referring to the shop stewards, emailing all of us to say this is what our feeling is at that point before this, you just didn't characterize it that way. Yeah, you just needed to be a little bit more specific, or else I would have known exactly what the board would have known what you were talking about, because we're all on those emails, but I would ask them to review it, and you took the words out of my mouth in terms of not making, unless we had questions about the plan, I'd like to send this to the IAC as soon as we
I'm
possibly
comfortable
can.
with that myself, yeah,
Yeah, can we,
quickly.
would we recommend to the IAC to go with this and ask for their recommendation as well, or just say send it to the IAC?
And we're on the scale.
So just say send it to the IAC.
We have time, you said?
You would need to meet with the IAC probably, either tomorrow, probably, yeah, probably early next week.
But this is what we want, you know, by.
Yeah, we had a decision 2 weeks ago.
We gotta just,
We could do it virtually on Friday, or we could meet in person early next week. You have time to get them together. Probably early next week.
I would just point out that our meeting's on the 16th. So realistically, we should have
Right.
a week before the
Week ahead.
We can probably facilitate that depending upon when the board's next meeting is.
so I had a couple hands up in the room,
Mr. Oh,
first hand.
My question is, okay, I'm a member of IAC.
Okay.
I represent the retirees.
Name.
Luann Royer.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Just for the record.
I did reach out. I sent emails out to over 36 of my 40+ members of retirees and stuff. I got some phone calls back and I got emails back, and we're probably looking at my vote is gonna stay the same, and I'm kind of thinking you're gonna come back to that 4-4 split. Honestly, so it's gonna come back at the end of the day. I don't know how Chief Dickey feels, but it's gonna come back to you guys to make the final decision. What's your thought, Dave?
Dave Dickey, also on the IAC. I also reached out and sent an email out to the 24 other people besides myself that I represent, showing them this presentation that I gotten and asked for questions and their opinions. I had 10 people vote yes, that they would still want to move over to Mass Strategic. I had 1 no, and I had 1 person that said he had some questions that weren't answered, so he didn't have enough information. I basically counted him kind of as a no, to be on the safe side, so I was looking at a 10 yes and 2. Nobody else got back to me from my group. So at this point in time, my vote would still be, for my group would still be a yes, move to Mass Strategic. I have talked to my fire union, and I know they are in favor of moving to Mass Strategic as well. Those are the only ones I can 100% say for. And also looking at the calendar that we're all talking about, we don't have time. We would have to meet this week if we're gonna get an answer to Maya by the 1st, which is Monday. There's not enough time to do it. I really, in my opinion, like Luann said, I feel that the IAC would be gridlocked at 4-4 vote. And I think it really should be up to the board to make that decision tonight.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have to agree with Chief on that. I'm looking at the time frame. I feel like we're almost at that point because of the decision made 2 weeks ago. I don't know how many they thought you were gonna get to come out of the woodwork on this insurance issue. However, the time frame just is not gonna work. You're gonna have, and I think we have to actually make a decision tonight and pass a vote.
So I'm sending out that presentation. Follow me in this one, time-wise. The condition with Maya right now is that they've already sent back, here's a new number for you. There could be strategy there to go back and say, we'd like to go with Maya if you honor your original agreement, because it would have been expiring in April 1st, strategy wise. Okay. If we still think that that ship still hasn't sailed to keep us as a member, our next meeting is April 10th. in that amount of time, whether the IAC meets or not, based on even what two members is saying right now, for the four other unions that have asked us to stay with Maya, that gives at least some time to look at it and be able to make it, either keep it with their decision or make another recommendation. But at that point, at the 10th of April, we need it by the 9th.
They need it
By
by
the
the
ninth,
ninth.
we need a week ahead. We'd have to have an emergency
I
meeting.
thought I heard 16th.
Mr. Chair, it was my impression that they looked
Listen,
at
hey,
that.
don't make,
No,
one at a time, please.
at least 1 week before the 16th, which was.
The ninth.
That's when their packets go out.
Mr. Chair. It was my impression that that was sent out already and reviewed. Luann, sorry. the Chair for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know me as a union rep for insurance, and Dave Vicky too, this whole pamphlet went out to all my retirees.
I was understood.
And
Okay.
as all the representatives on the Assurance Commission, we were all told to forward this to it. And I also sent a letter to all my people and said, selectmen a meeting Wednesday night. There is going to be a discussion on this. If you want to come in and ask questions, because
And
they're
that
gonna.
was given out on Thursday,
And this
correct?
was given on Thursday, and I mailed all my people over the weekend and Monday morning. I was still shooting out emails. And I did have responses by phone and by email. So if all of the other IAC people follow what we were told to do to let our groups know, they're all aware that this is coming to you guys tonight with a vote.
You know,
You know?
I agree with Julie.
I agree. I misunderstood that they actually had reviewed it, which makes it worse for me because I had four unions basically say they wanted to stay with Maya. Which was my original concern, was that we were trying to do, I did not vote yes for this 2 weeks ago.
Nor did I.
I did not want to have a churn with our employees to be able to switch over. I heard everything that was presented tonight about, I made eye contact with Ken during it to say same network, same co-pays and otherwise. Again, I didn't want the churn for the short period of time that we were discussing this. If we had a longer range, and the gentleman that spoke to us tonight, we were doing this, running fast with scissors to be able to come to this. I don't disagree with you, Matt, that it's a good plan or otherwise. And I also don't disagree, Tim, I think it was 2 weeks ago when you talked about, this is it's competitive, it's a tight game. The offer or otherwise, I've had time to consider that as well. It's a marketplace. I'm not defending the rates that go out and, there's variable rates for what you're trying to achieve strategically. My goal was to get the right plan for the employees at the right time. And I further said, if we needed to be able to have a longer period to be able to assess a better position for Templeton and health insurance and retirees, then I'd entertain that in the next go around as we approve them. That's how I feel. But I would not have, I don't have any other questions because obviously if all four union shop stewards are saying, I think one of them didn't mention that they looked at the materials, but the rest of them did. So they basically went with mine. I'm gonna go with Liz first.
Yeah, I just don't understand how someone would actually vote and want to increase the rates and have less services, because based on the presentation, their rates don't go up and the retirees end up with a better situation. They end up with the same doctors, the same pharmacists, the same everything. It's a no-brainer. I don't see how that's anything else but a no-brainer. I don't understand. And I don't know if either one of the shop stewards that said no and want to stay with the current program can explain why somebody would want to increase their rates.
Thank you, Liz. Kevin.
If it helps you, and I hope it does, and I.
Me or the
appreciate-
board?
Yes.
In all of the communities that we have presented this Mass Strategic Health Group program to, and remember of all the towns that have asked for Mass Strategic Health Group quotes, Many have been rejected, and so they never got to the point where we were actively working with the IAC and the towns to have an actual offer from our strategics underwriters. Of the 9 in the last 2 years that were the winnowed out ones that actually got a rate, 9 out of 9 went into Mass Strategic. Last year you had an offer. There's been only one in 2 years. There's been only one community that did not accept the offer, and that was Templeton last year. And that was a 4-3 vote of interest. I was there the day the vote was taken with the IAC. I've had a friend tell me, never underestimate the power of inertia. In all 9 of those communities, there was a healthy dose of skepticism and concern. There is probably no more personal decision for employees that enjoy employer-sponsored health insurance than the structure of their health insurance. Health insurance is life itself, literally. And so people are logically very concerned when somebody says we're going to change something. What I will tell you is that we have done everything we can for you to put it all in writing. We can't put anything in writing that isn't true, because if we were to do that, we would lose our license.
Right.
So everything in here is true. It is the same benefits, the same network at 3.56% lower for the actives, and for the retirees, the same benefits with some add-on benefits. A bigger network, actually, no referrals, and a substantially lower, 15% lower price. All that being said, it is still a deeply personal decision for people. What I can tell you, which may help, in all of those communities, with all that skepticism, when they did finally go in, we have yet to find a single employee, not a single town, not a single school, a single employee or a single retiree who has not said this Mass Strategic Health Group plan is fantastic. Not one. You have the list of communities that are in the Mass Strategic Health Group. You can certainly reach out to them if that helps you. Time is a factor here, but given more time, you could reach out to them and you could find out what we already know, which is it's the fear of change that motivates, I think, the skepticism and perhaps answers your question. But once the change is made and people see nothing changed except my rate went down, there's a very different attitude after that. And that's 9 out of 9 cases. You guys are the only exception so far.
Thank you, Kevin. Yep. And then Chief after you.
I think the difference is people, whether it's through Maya or anyone else, there's a sense that I'm insured by Blue Cross. Well, you're not insured by Blue Cross. When Blue Cross administers, is an administrative agency that administers your benefits to providers. They're not insuring you. And I think there's maybe a little bit of a misconception. In this case, it would be Harvard Pilgrim. They are the ones pushing the paper. They're not insuring you either. So I think to the extent there may be a false sense of security, I don't want to change from Blue Cross. Well, the only thing that's different is the color.
I understand.
So,
But it's, Liz kind of alluded to it as like, what, why would you not? I think of my busy day. I think about what card I have, what card my kids might have, which one. I think all the way through, that's not a valid argument for what you're saying, but it gives you a little bit of understanding to say, in trying to decide, where is it coming from? How much time do you have to understand what you have? But it does. It comes down to a color of the card. But which card do you have in?
It is
and who has it?
It is noteworthy
It's
that the
small,
two
I know.
largest systems in the state, the city of Boston and the GIC, both use Harvard Pilgrim as their administrator. They do not use Blue Cross. And they are the two largest health insurance, employee health systems in the state of Massachusetts. GIC is 3-4 times bigger than anybody.
Yeah.
And they do not use Blue Cross. They use Harvard Pilgrim. And the city of Boston actually stopped doing business with Blue Cross as their administrator probably well over a decade ago. And they use Harvard Pilgrim as well. So.
Thanks, Chief.
Mr. Chair, if I can ask Kevin a question.
Of course.
I think you've already answered it, but I just want some clarification. Has anybody that has changed to Mass Strategic since they have become available opted to leave them?
Offered to what?
Opted to leave them after they've gone to them.
Any other questions? The board needs to start thinking what they want to do with this tonight. I don't, we had a lot of information. But I don't want to limit your debate.
Have a debate, but I have an off the cuff question.
Off the cuff question. Terry.
Please. It's other people's lives are in my hands. Sorry, Julie. It's just that I just wanted to know if we cover through our job flexible spending accounts so that our employees get a tax break.
Yes. Yeah, employer-sponsored health insurance is not subject, the premium that the employee pays is not subject to taxation.
The flex plan. The flex, yeah, the flex.
Oh,
yeah.
you have an FSA, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
I didn't know if all our employees knew that.
We would like to do, once you make your decision, what you're gonna do, one of the things we'd like to do is do some programming with your employees, education about the FSA, because you have low participation. And again, it is a manifestation of people's inertia, because when somebody says to you, take money out of your page, we can put it in this thing called an FSA, people don't participate because of inertia. It is an entirely logical, good thing for them to do so, to pay their out-of-pocket health costs, deductibles, co-pays, and a vast list of over-the-counter health products, cough syrup, aspirin, the list is endless. But people don't do it because inertia. It's, from a financial point of view, it's a total no-brainer. But it's hard to get people to change and to explain these things to them. And the best way to do it, the only way to do it, is employee education. So we keep
I know it's there.
trying, and that's what we specialize in, by the way. If it's not obvious by now, we're educators primarily. That's what we do. We research and then we educate. And we would love to do some more intensive education with the employees to, extol the benefits of the FSA and why it would help them. Average out-of-pocket cost, by the way, in Massachusetts for IRS authorized FSA expenses, well over $1,000 per person per year, average.
Ours is 3,000. We can take up to 3,000.
No. What I'm saying is expenses that are on the IRS list
Oh, yeah.
that are eligible to be paid with an FSA, which are not covered by health insurance. The average is per person over $1,000 per year, according to I forget the name of the group, but it's a health research board for state of Massachusetts. So anybody who doesn't have an FSA is paying that $1,000.
Right.
If you had an FSA and you're in a 20% tax bracket, 200 of that $1,000 gets paid by the federal government in the form of no tax. But getting people to do it is hard.
Yeah, and the joy of the HSA too, and you guys know this, and I have an HSA, the joy of it is that health spending account, the joy of it, the flexible spending account is the one that's the good one. The joy of the FSA, and I have an FSA, is that every dollar you put in there, if you don't use it by December 31st, whatever year, it rolls. As opposed to an HSA.
That's the HSA, which is permanent.
Yeah.
An HSA is permanent and the owner, and it's owned by the employee, but you have to enroll in a high deductible plan. You don't offer one of those right now. We need to take steps along the way. We have discussed a high deductible plan with your IAC, and there is interest. And again, once you make your decision, then we can start looking at other things. And I think there's some appetite to introduce a high deductible plan with an HSA.
But the FSA, you need to budget.
FSA you have right now.
FSA, if you don't spend it by December 31st.
Yeah, but you
That's the
need to
trick.
know, so you need to know what your needs are for these. But again, education, and I appreciate your explanation. Thank you for answering my question.
I'd like any further questions, it's not an insurance seminar, I don't mean to be funny. I just want to make sure we're asking questions necessary to be able to make a decision for the town's healthcare way forward. In light of that, do you have the question.
I just want to say that as a Shine counselor,
Mhm.
the $3,400 out of pocket is one of the lowest available.
Oh, the out-of-pocket
And-
max,
and- Oh,
the out-of-pocket max when you're
Yes.
talking about for the retiree.
and being a PPO, it's good all over the US instead of an HMO. And that's very good. And, when retirees still need Part B.
Well, it's in
I know.
the Medicare Advantage.
It's embedded in it, yeah.
So,
Not B.
yes, it is.
Yes, so they don't need B.
A,
Part
B,
D is embedded in it.
they're all in,
So they only need Part A.
Oh, no,
That's
it's still in part A and B.
A and B, okay,
Sorry.
that's,
Yes.
yeah. Just want to make sure, but, so it is, from my point of view, a very good plan, and it sounds good for the town because it's getting all these rebates. And, for both the member and the town. I just, from my point of view.
Thank you, Gil.
you have a Shine counselor, that's a huge asset, by the way. to the
Yes.
community.
Yes, she is.
They're rare and very great asset.
Thank you, Kevin. So for the board, there are decisions out there. We have to make them pretty soon. We could entertain a special meeting if you need time to deliberate. The materials were already with the unions out there. They wanted Maya. You had a really good presentation tonight. I think there were a lot of the times we used the phrase no brainer. Maya's position out there is now a 3 something, 3.58.
3.56.
Yep, but their quote, there was still the possibility that we wanted to go after the quote for that. That's an option. But I'd ask the board to consider what direction you want to move by making a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve going with Mass Strategic for health and dental insurance for FY 2025.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I hear no further discussion on the motion to approve Mass Strategic for health and dental insurance for 2025. How do you vote, Tim?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Julie?
No,
Matt?
Yes.
I vote no, because I would like to show some solidarity with the union. I do
As do I.
recognize that the yes vote does carry, and there were 2 no's and 3 yays. So Mass Strategic is the health insurance that health and dental insurance that we are moving forward with.
So, Mr. Chairman, first of all, thank you to the board. I know these decisions are difficult. And again, I appreciate very much having sat in your seat for 9 years. It was not an easy thing for you to do. And again, no trying to blow any smoke up anybody's nose. I appreciate what you did. It's hard. and
You're gonna take
kudos-
care of us. We're
kudos
gonna
to
get
you.
taken care of either way.
What I will tell you is 6 or 7 months from now, you will not regret this decision. Believe me, you will be happy. Your employees will be happy. You will have done a very good thing for them. I'm
Gonna hold you to
We have
that.
a restaurant
thank you.
called Crows, but they don't serve crows, so I'll have to find something else to eat.
Okay. The next step is since you are the governing body, ordinarily the IEC or whoever makes a decision has to come to you. But since you are the governing body, you have to trigger a letter over the chairman's signature petitioning the Mass Strategic Health Group to allow you into their group.
Probably a motion.
And that letter, I can work with Adam tomorrow to get the form letter in so it can be signed right away.
Conversation, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Point of
well,
order.
no, that's all right. If that's required.
Yeah.
Adam, do you want us to?
Coordinate, it could be electronic
Okay,
signature.
all right.
Yeah, it's the chairman's signature and it's a very simple letter. It's like 2 sentences. The town of Templeton having voted at their Board of Selectmen meeting on March 27th. I remember the date. Today's my 47th wedding anniversary.
Oh,
Congratulations.
what a way to spend
Yeah.
it.
Waiting at home.
I'd throw that in. I'm sorry. I'm hoping my wife will get
Order. I need order. So, I would ask, because it is a chair signature that Adam can work with me, but I would ask, could you amend your motion? I'm sorry, we need to procedurally.
Would we
Make a
reconsider or we just like a second?
Okay, could you make a second motion to
Like-
add?
I'm sorry, point of order. I'm not sure we need to change that motion.
You already approved it.
You
We'll
approve
make
it.
a second
About
one.
the,
You don't need approval for that. You're the chairman of the board. I believe you can just write. that
You're
letter.
just reporting, Mr. Chairman,
You're
the
just
board.
reporting to them that
Right,
you
you're just
agree.
reporting.
Okay.
I think.
We'll have the wording for you tomorrow because there is a process once the letter is received in underwriting, and it takes about a week to get that done. So we need to move it. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Kevin.
you. Happy anniversary.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm still married.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I said an hour. I realize everybody, I said an hour. My fatal error is that we had the word insurance
Yeah.
in our agenda. I was being really optimistic.
Like, I want to be here. You're a great leader.
Oh. All right, so that was an old item of business that we voted to take out of order. I'm gonna go jump back up to item C, action related to adopting the fiscal year 2025 general fund budget. In your packet, you have the cover page that has now been filled in with the $10.8 million OpEx number. We would be voting on that number to go on the warrant this evening. And it would, that amount would then be subject to pre-town meeting and discussion and all of this.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Just to the town administrator, have there been any significant changes to the OpEx numbers since we had our budget hearings a week ago Saturday?
Minor.
insurance is gonna be different.
Well, yeah, there's that, but
Lump sum disallowed in that one, it's kind of.
Yeah.
But not much, if anything.
So on what Matt was saying, if you rework the insurance numbers and if you realize any numbers that might hit some of those targets that we discussed, I believe it was two $60 potential opportunities. If you could
Happy
alert
Easter.
us,
Thanks.
if you could alert us to that, if we wind up having those opportunities, that was the HR and in the order of priority was the labor and the HR. director.
Yep. She's probably coming back. Mr. Chair.
Yep.
I move to approve the FY 2025 general budget of $10,871,090.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? The school certified $1 million.
Yep.
Yes. They had a couple options out there, so we're working through them.
Yep. Discussions are ongoing.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, just one comment. The color on this form made it almost impossible to read. I know I've addressed this before and I'm flogging the dead horse, but I'm gonna beat it one more time. We gotta think ADA compliance when we're sending out documentation. And we're not doing that. We need to get better.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Tim. Adam, if you could take that one.
I concur. I already
Yeah,
did
it's
to
tough.
Adam. I almost abstained tonight because it's hard to read.
Yeah, I mean, we typically, on the, so I hear you on the ADA. I know you're a school teacher. I'm a school teacher. We've got to have documentation for these things.
Yep.
I will say that in the construction of these, there's a whole host. I mean, some are web pages and the capital stuff.
Yeah.
That's a very difficult standard to get to. I can almost see limiting what gets in there based on its availability of ADA. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Actually, the state takes it the other way. They turn the screws down so tight. If you're putting out something that's not literally black and white, you're not in compliance. It's everything that's ADA compliant coming out of the Commonwealth official offices is devoid of color. We go through it every year. Chief can back me up on this, the pre-hospital treatment
I don't
protocols.
know if-
You have the generic one, and then you have the ADA compliant version.
Yeah, I don't know if there's something that you can tweak in PDF.
Well,
Like I know when you're on an office machine, it'll ask color or black and white,
Mhm.
Potentially that.
So to print this in black and white, you wouldn't read any line.
Yeah.
This would just look like somebody redacted it.
All right. Okay, any further discussion? 10.8
Time to learn new things.
about budgets?
We're
Yeah.
fine.
Yep, understood.
No big deal.
Any further discussion? 10.8. Hearing none on the motion to adopt the fiscal year 2020 general fund budget as presented. How do you vote, Tim?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Fantastic. All right, our last item for discussion this evening. It's no action, but it's a discussion related to the no trespass order process. If you could briefly walk us through what the current, I have the copy of but if you could walk us through the discussion.
The board has this in front of them, in front of you, excuse me, because quite frankly, if we had somebody unruly, disorderly, for whatever reason, the authority of issuing a no trespass order would be the select board by opinion of town council. Obviously that they posted, process the agenda, all that. So it's really more of a discussion on should we have unruly or disorderly folks come to town hall, how we handle that moving forward.
So the current process, if we needed to do that, as was ruled by earlier precedent from town council, was that the select board would need to issue that. And in doing so, we would have to, not the normal public hearing process where we post the newspaper, but we would alert the person, the target of the no trespass order, and then we would hold a public hearing. You know the way we hold public hearing, presentation, anything against, recommendation, come out of public hearing and make the decision. That's the current process if we were to issue a trespass order. Or the other option is to delegate that authority to someone like the town administrator that would be able to perform that function without a public hearing, but with notice. So if the current process is still satisfactory, the board can say that, or if we needed to be able to be more flexible to protect town residents from any danger in any of the facilities that we have, then that's the level of discussion that we wanted to have based on, as Adam had said, at recent events, to be able to say, are we being able to react quickly enough and sufficiently to protect town employees from members of anyone coming into the building that may present a danger. Correct. Yep. So, discuss. Or not.
I understand the spirit and intent behind this. I really have a question in my mind. If an individual is coming to town hall specifically, do we really want to trespass them from this building and prevent them from conducting business? And I cannot answer that in good faith and say, yes, we do. There is reason.
We have provisions on a trespass order that they, if the board did it, which is the current process, you can set provisions. If they need to be able to come in to pay a bill or something, you can put a provision that said they have to have 24-hour notice. And that way we are able to add adequate protections or at least mitigating measures to be able to reduce risk to the employees. That's how I would think through it. I don't have to immediately say, no soup for you.
Come back 30 days.
But
or in this case, come back in a year.
Right. I want to protect the town employees from someone that is upset and can't control themselves. At the same time, we've got to be able to, like you're saying, you have to provide service. They have to be able to have their, the tax dollars that they may or may not be spending and get that service. And I think we can achieve that. It's just how you do it.
So that said, I would say, I understand again, the spirit and intent. I think at this point, this would be a public hearing.
Okay.
Before we could take such an action. That's my gut on this one.
I'm confused. So if somebody feels threatened on public property, or if it's a town employee, they can't just pick up the phone and dial 911?
Sure they can.
That's what would it be, but then to further action, if further action was warranted, it would have to fall on either us or,
Yeah, the select board is it is the authority for over town property.
okay, so I
And it's
just
like
want to
if
make
for,
sure
like
that,
for your house, you know, like, right. Same, maybe not a great example, but it's who owns the property.
Yeah.
It is the
so in
person.
other words, if an employee activates 911, the officer that's responding would give them their options and that.
No, they would respond to a 911 emergency.
Right, and that, but at the same time, they could say, you could ask Adam for this, or, you know, you could invoke an.
It wouldn't occur with it, it would not occur to say, yay, officer on the way, by the way, you know.
Oh, no, not right away. I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
saying, after 911, the whole procedure has been executed. And it's, oh,
Police would work with the parties that called it to be able to say, here are your options. Correct.
correct, and then we would have a mechanism in place to be a check and event.
Already have that. So if someone in the town wanted that, that would filter up through, it would get on an agenda, or they would do the public hearing notice, and then we would have it before us as a hearing. Is that
Thank you.
okay? Yep.
I think in this respect, I tend to agree with Mr. Toth. Not that I don't trust Mr. Lamontagne's judgment. But I think that where the town owns town hall and we are the executive board of the town, I think that this has to be a public hearing. I do also agree, though, that looking at the trespass notice, there is ways we can put provisions into this in order to make it such that any such person, if they have to be issued this, that we can still allow them to do town business under certain circumstances in order to protect whoever the person is that feels threatened. And looking at information that we were given, I'm obviously not going to say names or anything like that. I feel that this is
Yeah, this is more procedural discussion
Yeah.
based on.
I think procedurally a hearing is fully warranted. And that we should go, and that it should be a hearing of this board.
Okay. Any further discussion from the board?
And if something did happen here in town hall, and none of you are present at the time, I would think Adam can tell them all the rules that, okay, we're, you know. you're gonna
Well,
have-
I mean, the police still have the
Authority.
reaction authority, and, you know, Chief Bennett's not here, but, you know, the employees are just as much a part of their flock that they would provide public safety for. So I think we're talking about return threat, and to be able to say you're not allowed here because you're not entrusted with access to this or town facilities.
Will pose a threat.
Right. Yes.
And the other thing is that if you put it in any one person's hands, you run the risk of personality, could just being personality conflicts.
Okay.
And you don't want to go down that.
In retaliation.
And retaliation, exactly.
Understood. Thank you for that. This is just a discussion, so.
Yep. And to those ends, I think, you know, again, Chief Bennett's not here, but in the immediate situation, I'm sure it will be handled by our local police department. And
Yeah.
then if it requires the next step, that's where I was going with this. The next step in this case would probably have to be the public hearing. And then if we impose restrictions, provisions, so be it. But not to discount the importance of any of our town employees. I don't want to be coming across in that fashion. I apologize if I did.
So, yeah, unless they identify themselves.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Taking the comments.
Yeah,
no.
Just as a review, I know we're 2.5 hours into the meeting. For YouTube, we do make every effort to be able to recognize that there are comments in there, but like Gail or Gold. Gail and Liz already identified themselves, and if someone has a comment and they want it addressed within the YouTube, you gotta identify yourself the way that you would if you were here at the microphone. So although I do see the comments there, unless you throw your name in there, I'm not gonna entertain the question. Any further discussion? I think that was good discussion. You know, my perception, I wanted to hear what you guys were saying. I just want to be reactive to the safety of our employees. And I don't think, you know, I don't think anyone would hesitate if they felt threatened to hit 911. I mean, there's some common sense aspects of this as well. You know, it was coming from a situation, so 911 is definitely
An option.
an option, yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, well, William Newman has the comment under Northwest 10 on the YouTube. How can you trespass somebody if no crime has been committed? It's still public property.
That's a question for the police department.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was not necessarily rhetorical, but that's a good point to say if no crime has been committed. Again, it's like an order of protection. It's the same kind of, it's the victim. It's a victim-centric process to be able to say, this is what occurred, it was witnessed or otherwise. And it's not, you know, a hearing allows for, you misunderstood. I didn't call you that. I didn't put this finger up. Whatever. The hearing process allows for. Okay, any further discussion required? Okay. Folks, I know we're well over an hour. I was trying to, you know, what I was trying to do. We have no further new or old business, so I would like to entertain any board member comments at this time. I'll go ahead and start by saying I have none for this evening. Thank you for a good meeting this evening.
I just have one quick one.
Yes, Tim.
I live and I work in a realm where compliance and attention to detail is a mainstay. And we have repeatedly discussed and had to correct minutes and minutes and minutes. And I told this board I would get this, and I apologize. I did not send it electronically. I'm still having difficulties getting into my town email, which I will address with Holly at a later date. But I'm going to share with everyone, and there's a copy for each member and the town administrator. This is off of the AG's website. This is the checklist for meeting minutes. It specifies timelines, content, etc. And I have raised these points in the past.
Okay.
So just for the record.
Great.
So we remove any
and thank
questions or shadows of a doubt.
Great, and thank you for that handout.
Yep.
And thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, Tim.
Oh, and happy Easter.
Happy Easter, that's right.
Yeah.
Two comments this evening. First of all, I think that the conversation about the insurance was really great and in-depth. I honestly believe that there was no wrong decision to be made tonight. At the end of the day, the townspeople are going to get coverage that is going to meet what they have currently, or it's going to be better. And the town is, at the end of the day, going to save money. We were going to save money at the end of the day with the decision that we did make. There was no bad decision there. I hope that the town employees have the trust in this board that the decision that we made will benefit them in the long run. And we are dedicated to their health and well-being and the health and well-being of this town. The second comment that I have this evening is more related to public safety. I'd like to just remind people that when you see a school bus on the road and the red lights are flashing, there is big white letters on the back of it that says unlawful to pass when red lights are flashing. The reason I bring it up is because we've had a couple of incidents on the street that I live on of people coming down at the bus stop and passing the bus to continue on with the red lights flashing. Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 90, Section 14, first offense, $250 fine, second offense, $500 fine, and the potential loss of your license for a minimum of 6 months. Third offense, minimum $1,000 up to $2,000 fine and the potential loss of your license for a minimum of 1 year. Not to mention the fact it's a moving violation, so you're getting 2 points on your insurance record, but it's not about all that. Okay? It's about the fact that our kids are trying to get on and off the bus and are trying to do so safely. Okay? Those warning signals are there for a clear reason, so that our kids can get on and off a school bus safely. Please, please be mindful of them, follow them, and understand that they are there for our children's safety. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm done.
Great, thank you, Matt.
Just one last thing, sometimes I appear to be stifled. And I look awkward, but inside of me, we've received some emails. I respect authority. Mike is the chair. And if I look awkward when he says no, it's just because sometimes you look awkward when somebody says no, but I'm here to respect Mike, to respect Tim, Julie, Matt, and Mike runs the meeting. He runs a good meeting. So I'm not weak. I respect authority.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
And happy Easter.
And happy Easter.
I lied about not having anything. I forgot to. A couple weeks ago, on the 15th, I don't know, everyone probably gets the MMA, emails, sometimes a deluge of them, but I did go to one of the MMA legislative breakfasts. I went to the one in Westboro, because it was in Worcester County. I think our legislative delegation might have gone to the one out in Greenfield. Which I saw no point in doing that from a county perspective. So I did go to that one. Senator Mike Moore was there, Representative Donahue.
Nice.
And they kind of reiterated their legislative directions. They talked about a lot of different things that they're working on. $1.3 billion in the fair share tax. You probably know that as the millionaire tax. That's how Governor Healy is funding a bunch of things in light of the budget shortfall that they're going through because they are having less than expected revenues. I don't think there were anything like we know that they're working on local bridge for like 124 million extra on top of that. We were really trying to hope for that Maiden Street to kind of erase that debt if should we be successful at town meeting. They talked a little bit about updates for the cannabis community host community agreements. I don't know where that's going. It seems like there's less appetite in Massachusetts, and they're changing those agreements to be a little bit more. It was a more like communities were like, whoa, we're gonna get something, and I think they're trying to be the more equitable because the business is not proliferating as much as they thought it was going to. I think I already talked to Grace about the Grant Central app that they're going to push out there. That's an MMA thing where it's really an easier. If it wasn't easier already, that they're trying to make it a little bit more easy. I did have a couple constituents email me about there's a listening session about public lands. Give me a sec. There's something that's going on. There's a commission on open space and using the state using open space land that kind of usurps the town's control. Better known as the local option, like home rule. And so I asked the delegation out there if you could look into home rule in terms of being able to make land decisions, especially if it's state land or otherwise, that the town still has a seat at the table in order to make decisions on pilots and use of state lands. I wish I could be a little bit more elaborative on that, but that was a constituent ask to say we're really concerned about the town losing the ability to do that. And that's all I had, but I just wanted to let you know that I went out out to that breakfast. I usually try and hit at least one a year. After the governor announces their budget, but that's what I have to report. Our next meeting is April 10th. I think I said that earlier. Yeah, I think the only thing I had asked in the meeting was just a discussion related to when we can do announcements at the beginning of the meeting. All right, everyone looks tired. Next, April 10th, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So seconded.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.